Chapter 1817. Indeed, Jiang Wen was right. Peng Zhan was the one who asked for more investments, and Mingyue was the one who tried to talk him out of it. Meng Yao was even more certain that Mingyue didn't want to lend the money, telling Peng Zhan to stop, but it was her father's stubborn insistence that Mingyue had no choice but to agree to Peng Zhan's request. After that, it was Peng Zhan's request to withdraw his investments, and Mingyue had warned him about the risks involved, but Peng Zhan still insisted on withdrawing his investments. This made Meng Yao a little sad. Thinking about how her father was doing this for her, she couldn't hold back her tears. These recordings were enough to prove House N's innocence, and it was only now that Meng Yao believed that it was an accident. After all, she couldn't really say anything in front of evidence like this. Even if House N really did play some tricks, it was Peng Zhan's own fault. She tried to talk him out of it so many times, but he still wouldn't listen. Who could he blame for losing the money? Yao Yao, this time, do you understand our and family's pain? Jiang Wen smiled bitterly. Actually, we didn't get anything out of this at all. We basically used this money to buy these shares and properties. Can you send me the recordings of these phone calls? Meng Yao took a deep breath. Faubert didn't know about this, and Housen didn't explain much to Faubert. St. Hall as far as Jiang Wen was concerned, he had to explain it to Meng Yao personally for this to work. He had other things to do after all, and this was just a prelude to get close to Meng Yao. Of course. Jiang Wen nodded. But here's a video of the signing, you can have a look. With that, Jiang Wen opened the video of Peng Zhan and Mingyue signing the contract. Of course, the video was edited, and there were some things Meng Yao shouldn't have seen. Meng Yao looked at her father's happy face after getting the money, and she knew that her father had done this out of his own volition. This meant that Housen really didn't have much to do with it. Of course, Meng Yao had forgotten about the hypnotist as well. But who would have thought that there was a hypnotist involved in this? Moreover, even an ordinary hypnotist would find it hard to do such a flawless job. Of course, a hypnotist from the Fire Wolf gang was a different story. The Fire Wolves were all experts in the study of the human body's potential and limits. Hypnosis was also a way to stimulate the human body's potential. If Meng Yao had been thinking from a normal perspective, she wouldn't have suspected a hypnotist at all. All right, I believe you. This matter has nothing to do with you. Meng Yao was a straightforward person, and she had no reason to suspect House and in front of all this evidence. It's fine. If people don't know the truth, they'll really suspect us. Jiang Wen smiled bitterly. I'll send it to your phone now. Meng Yao nodded. I understand it's not your fault. It's Daddy's fault for being too impatient. Is there anything else you need? Here's 100,000. I heard that Uncle Chu really needs money right now, so I took out half of my private stash and gave it to you. Jiang Wen said as he took out the 100,000. He was a little apologetic. Because of what happened before, my father's position in the company has been temporarily revoked, so my pocket money has been reduced a lot. This is all I can give you. Meng Yao really wanted the money, but she didn't want to owe Jiang Wen anything. She wouldn't have cared about 100,000 in the past, but now she really wanted it. She didn't want to owe Jiang Wen a favor just because of 100,000, and that was something she didn't want to owe Jiang Wen a favor. Oh, give it to me. Yushu took the money from Jiang Wen's hand and said, I'll take it. But it was Jiang Wen's turn to feel helpless. He took out the 100,000 to get on Meng Yao's good side. He didn't want Meng Yao to feel like he owed her, but at the very least, he wanted her to think that he was treating her well. But it was different now that Yushu took the money. He didn't need Yushu to owe him anything. He just wanted to get as far away from this bad girl as possible. But since Yushu had taken the money, he couldn't take it back. Not only would he lose face, but it would also make Meng Yao feel like he wasn't giving her the money with sincerity. It wasn't worth it. And so, Jiang Wen said without hesitation, it doesn't matter who I give it to, it's for Uncle Chu. It's a token of my sincerity. Thanks. Meng Yao felt a little better now that she didn't have to take the money herself. Right, Yao Yao, the amusement park belongs to us now. But Uncle is planning on developing the land around the amusement park. Are you interested in joining in? Jiang Wen finally revealed his main purpose for coming here. What do you mean? Meng Yao frowned. The amusement park belongs to your family now. What does it have to do with me? Uncle's planning on building a safari park near the amusement park. After all, it's surrounded by mountains and rivers. It's a beautiful environment, and Songshan lacks a big zoo. So Uncle's planning on training me and putting me in charge of this project. Zhang Wen said, Yao Yao, I'd like to invite you to join in the development. Me? Before. Meng Yao still didn't understand what Zhang Wen was planning. Yao Yao, actually, I feel really bad seeing Uncle Chu like this. These properties belong to us now, but I think it's just temporary. As long as I work hard, I'll definitely get them back for you. Zhang Wen said. Get them back for me? Meng Yao looked at Zhang Wen, surprised. Was there something wrong with this guy? Yeah, if I perform well, then I'm sure Grandpa will agree to it. The prerequisite is that you have to be with me. If you marry me, then it'll be perfectly justifiable for me to help you get these properties back. After all, you're my wife, and these properties belong to House Chu. Even if Uncle objects, Grandpa will definitely agree. Zhang Wen said proudly. In the third generation, Grandpa likes me the most. Chapter 1818. In actuality, it was true that Old An liked Zhang Wen, but it was also because Zhang Wen was the most capable one, and his position in the Fire Wolves had been rising. Old An, on the other hand, was an outer disciple of the Fire Wolves. His dream back then was to enter the core of the Fire Wolves and become a core disciple. One had to know that core disciples of the Fire Wolves could become practitioners, and Zhang Wen, if he did a few more things, the Fire Wolves would probably give him foundation building pills to help him train. Marry you? Yao smiled. She finally understood what Zhang Wen's goal was. He wanted her to marry him, and as for developing an amusement park, it was just a way to build up their relationship. As long as their relationship was built up, everything else would be fine. Yao smiled. She finally understood what Zhang Wen was trying to say. But Meng Yao didn't like Zhang Wen at all. Even when the temptation was right in front of her, Meng Yao didn't move. She didn't know why, but there was a belief in her heart. If Lin Yi woke up, then everything would be fine. Even if she lost a lot, as long as Lin Yi was there, then she could make a comeback. Yeah, you know that even if I'm loved by Grandpa, if you weren't my girlfriend, Grandpa wouldn't agree to me returning all these properties to you. Zhang Wen opened his hands and smiled bitterly. Yao Yao, you might think that I'm taking advantage of you, but this is the only way I can think of. Besides, I really like you. I'm sorry. I still need to go to school. I'm not interested in this theme park. Meng Yao shook her head, rejecting Zhang Wen's suggestion. Sigh, in any case, I'm just saying. You should think about it. After all, I don't want you to lose House Chu's properties. I heard that it was your grandpa's hard work. Zhang Wen said. Thank you. But I'm not thinking about marriage or work right now. I still need to go to college. All right, I won't disturb you then. Give me a call when you've thought it through. Zhang Wen said. Wait, you said you want to build a zoo? Yu Shu asked suddenly. Yes, Xiao Shu, you also helped me to persuade Yao Yao. After all, we all want to help her. Zhang Wen nodded. Although he didn't like Shu, she was the closest person to Meng Yao. Meng Yao would listen to her if she tried to persuade her. Are you guys buying a lot of animals? Yu Shu asked. Of course, how can there be no animals in a zoo? Zhang Wen didn't know why Yu Shu was asking this, but he answered honestly. That's good. I have a lion here. I'll sell it to you. It doesn't have to be too expensive, just 200,000 or 300,000 will do. Yu Shu demanded. Ah. Zhang Wen paused, not knowing what to say. It's better to make a cooked one than a raw one. We're already so familiar with each other, and Yao Yao needs money. You won't reject it, will you? Yu Shu asked. I'll buy it, of course. 300,000, right? All right, I'll talk to Uncle about it. I'll definitely buy it. Zhang Wen was troubled. His cooperation with Meng Yao didn't work out, and he got a lion for nothing. Zhang Wen had heard that Yu Shu got a lion from Shao family's Go Huli, but he didn't think that he'd be the one to buy it. More importantly, the zoo was a project he came up with on a whim. The goal was to get in touch with Meng Yao. If Meng Yao didn't participate, why would he even bother with the zoo? He didn't have the time to do that. There were more profitable projects waiting for him. That's great, I'll get someone to send the lion to you later, Yushu said. Jiangwen left Mengyao's house, troubled. He felt helpless. Nothing good ever happened to Yushu. This girl always found trouble for him. What the hell? Mengyao couldn't help but smile at Shu's actions, but she didn't stop her. One was willing to get hit, and the other was willing to suffer. With Shu here, other than Lin Yi, she'd take advantage of everyone else. Jiangwen was asking for it. Shu, do you think that Dad's incident really has nothing to do with Jiangwen? Mengyao said helplessly as she looked at the evidence on her phone. Who knows? This guy might not even be telling the truth. Yushu doesn't have a good impression of Jiangwen. But there's evidence. That's true. But we'll have to wait until Uncle Chu wakes up. Yushu said. Hidden House Yu Bing's letter had arrived. If it were any other disciple of the Ice Palace, they wouldn't be able to enjoy this kind of treatment. But Yu Bing could write a letter to his family once a month, and he could even receive letters from House Yu through the Ice Palace. The other outer sect disciples had to be in the sect for at least a year before they could enjoy the privilege of writing letters to their families, but Yu Bing had the care of the future sect master of the Ice Palace. Not only did he receive more elixirs than the other outer sect disciples, but he also had more privileges than the other outer sect disciples. But even so, no outer disciple dared to object. Who told him to be so close to the future sect master of the Ice Palace? This time, Yu Xiaoqin's letter gave Yu Bing quite a shock. Xiaoqin questioned Yu Bing in the letter. Why did he hide the fact that Lin Yi participated in the tomb robbery, and that he got the qi-gathering pill? Yu Bing, on the other hand, thought that his father knew everything when he saw the letter. He quickly explained everything, admitting that he knew that Lin Yi had participated in the tomb raiding, and that he had a qi-gathering pill with him. But he couldn't be loyal at the same time, and he couldn't betray his friend, so he hid it from his father. In truth, Yu Bing's explanation was because he thought that his father knew everything. He didn't know that it was all a coincidence. Yu Xiaoqin didn't know the truth of the matter, and only heard Yu Huixing's side of the story. That was why he wrote such a vague letter to Yu Bing. He didn't want to expose himself, so naturally he didn't say too much. He only asked a few general questions, but Yu Bing had a guilty conscience, and so this was the result. If Yu Huixing knew about this misunderstanding, he'd probably be laughing so hard that he wouldn't be able to close his mouth. He just randomly made up a lie to frame Lin Yi, and now Yu Bing was telling the truth. Even the heavens were helping him. Chapter 18-19. Looking at the letter in his hands, Xiaoqin's face darkened even more. After confirming Yu Huixing's words, Xiaoqin immediately went to the mountain where the old Yu was in isolation. Under Yu Yi's lead, Xiaoqin once again met the old Yu. Saint Hall, Father, Yu Bing's reply is here. Xiaoqin didn't waste time with pleasantries and went straight to the point. What did Yu Bing say in the letter? Old ancestor Yu opened his eyes and asked. Yu Huixing didn't lie. Lin Yi did participate in the tomb raiding, and he did have the qi-gathering pill. Xiaoqin said as he handed the letter to the old Yu. The old Yu took the letter and read it quietly, as if he was very serious. Xiaoqin didn't want to disturb him, so he stood to the side and waited for the old Yu to finish reading. It was obvious that the old Yu liked Yu Bing a lot, otherwise he wouldn't be reading the letters so seriously. After a while, the old Yu put down the letter in his hands and sighed. I wanted the other hidden houses to break the rules and send out their Earth class, but I didn't think that the first to make a move would be us, House Yu. Father, you're preparing to make a move on Lin Yi? Xiaoqin was happy as he asked. Saint Hall, if his father supported him, then they might be able to get the qi-gathering pill back, and he would have a high chance of breaking through to Sky class. Of course, he didn't think that Lin Yi had already eaten the qi-gathering pill, as it would only have the greatest effect when an Earth-class late-phase peak was breaking through to Sky class. Taking it before was a waste of a heavenly gift. If you become a Sky class as well, then House Yu will have nothing to worry about for the next 100 years. The old Yu said, this is your hope, so of course I'll give it my all. Since we've confirmed that it was Lin Yi who took the pill, then let's fulfill Yu Huixing's wish, kill Lin Yi and get the pill back. Kill Lin? Xiaoqin raised an eyebrow. Yu Bing, sooner or later, he will understand that the interests of the family are greater than anything else. Elder Yu said, this time, we'll let Yu Lu go. Although it's said that Lin Yi went crazy, we don't know if it's true or not. Yu Lu is an Earth-class mid-phase peak. Even if Lin Yi is faking it, he can still beat Lin Yi. Xiaochen nodded. Then I'll go arrange it right away. And go talk to Yu Huixing. You know what to say, right? Old ancestor, you said. Of course. Yu Xiaochen said, I'll make sure that Yu Huixing remembers this favor after helping House Yu get their revenge. Count this as repayment for House Zhao stealing his qi-gathering pill. Alright, off you go. Old ancestor Yu waved his hand. After Xiaochen left the old ancestor's training grounds, he sent for Yu Huixing. Greetings, head Yu. Yu Huixing said respectfully. He didn't know why Yu Xiaochen was looking for him all of a sudden, but he wasn't afraid. Ever since he was told to pretend that the Zhaos had taken the qi-gathering pill, he knew that everything would be fine. No one would pursue this matter anymore. Even if someone did pursue this matter, Yu Huixing would be able to push all the blame away. Huixing, Yu Bing has sent a letter, confirming your story. Lin Yi did participate in the grave robbing, and he was the one who stole the qi-gathering pill. Xiaochen said. Ah. Yu Huixing paused. Had Yu Bing lost his mind? What the hell did Lin Yi participate in the grave robbing? Plus, the qi-gathering pill wasn't stolen by Lin Yi, he was the one who gave it to House Zhao. Why did Yu Bing admit to his story? Before, Yu Huixing was relieved, but he was afraid that something would happen to Yu Bing. If Yu Bing had clarified things, then House Yu would definitely believe Yu Bing's words, not Yu Huixing's. So Yu Huixing was hoping that Yu Bing wouldn't be able to write letters in the Ice Palace, but he didn't think that Yu Bing would actually reply to him. What was even more unexpected was that Yu Bing actually confirmed his story. Was Yu Bing out of his mind? But despite his doubts, Yu Huixing was still very happy. No matter what reason Yu Bing had, confirming this was beneficial to him. After a moment of shock, Yu Huixing quickly said, That's how it is, that Lin is extremely despicable. Not only did he destroy our common House Yu, he even stole the qi-gathering pill that belonged to you, head Yu. What a heinous crime. That's right, this Lin Yi is indeed despicable, so after my father and I talked about it many times, he finally agreed to send people to avenge your common House Yu. Xiaochen said, knowing how to buy people's hearts. Thank you, head Yu and elder Yu. Yu Huixing's heart was filled with gratitude. The common House Yu basically only existed in name now. Yu Huixing was filled with hatred, but after hearing that Lin Yi had become an Earth class, he didn't have the courage to take revenge anymore. If the hidden House Yu didn't help, then unless he became a higher class master, he wouldn't be able to do anything to Lin Yi at all. Plus, he was someone who was especially afraid of death. Before he completely suppressed Lin Yi's strength, he wouldn't do anything rash. You're welcome, this is what we should be doing. The common House Yu may not have a successor, but you can support a few other relatives. I heard that Yu Haitian isn't bad, let him and Yu Kun take care of House Yu together. Xiaochen said, but House Yu will just be doing business from now on, don't participate in training anymore. Yes. Yu Huixing sighed heavily. If the common House Yu stopped training, then what difference was there between them and normal businesses? This meant that the common House Yu would be completely marginalized from now on, they wouldn't have the glory they had before. But this was the best solution. At least the hidden House Yu would still support House Yu. Otherwise, it was hard to say if House Yu could survive. Without a practitioner, any house with a practitioner could step on them. This time, I'm going to let Yu Lu go find Lin Yi for revenge. Is there anything else you want to say? Xiaochen asked. Nothing, it's all up to you, head Yu. Yu Huixing wanted to say that he wanted to take revenge himself, to kill Lin Yi with his own hands. But in the end, he didn't have the courage to say it, because he was afraid of dying. He was afraid that Lin Yi was faking it. Even if Yu Lu, an Earth-class mid-phase peak, went with him, he was afraid that Yu Lu wouldn't be able to protect him. And so, Yu Huixing gave up when it came down to it. Chapter 1820. Xiaochen, naturally, didn't say anything. He told Yu Huixing to leave and went to find Yu Lu. Yu Lu, I'll give you a mission this time. Yes, House Head Yu, please instruct me. Yu Lu was a direct descendant of House Yu, and he was extremely loyal to House Yu. He was a brainwashed loyalty, whatever Xiaochen told him to do, he'd do it. Heart, go to Songshan and help me get rid of someone, then get the qi-gathering pill back from him. Xiaochen said. You Lu didn't even think about it? Please tell me, house head. This person's name is Lin. I'm sure you've heard of him. Here's his information and address. When you get there, just deal with him directly. As for the people around him, Xiaochen paused before continuing seriously. Don't touch the people around him, especially the 2 girls with him. Don't hurt them. Every debt has its debtor, and we, House Yu, can't be too domineering. We just need to find trouble with Lin Yi. I understand. Yu Lu nodded. In actuality, Xiaochen didn't need to explain so much. There was no doubt about Yu Lu's loyalty. Whatever Xiaochen said, he'd do it, unlike Yu Huixing, who still had some ulterior motives. Holy Hall, all right, you can go now. Xiaochen said to Yu Lu after giving his orders. Yu Lu, on the other hand, disappeared in a flash. An Earth-class mid-phase peak was extremely fast. Later that night, Yu Tian and Ling Shan came to visit Meng Yao, Yu Shu, and Lin Yi. Yu Tian got the news from Yu Shu, so he came to the villa. As for the news of Lin Yi's deviation, he got it from another source. Meng Yao and Yu Shu weren't as hostile towards Ling Shan as they were before. They knew the results of the Noble House meeting, and Ling Shan was now on Lin Yi's side. While the vixen liked Lin Yi, she was still a mystic late-phase peak. While Lin Yi was unconscious, she could be a helper, protecting Lin. Brother, Fox Song. Yu Shu opened the door. Shu, don't say that, call her Ling Shan sis. Yu Tian scolded. Still not Ling Shan sis, she wants to be Shield Bro's wife. I'm just a small wife, but she's at least 6 or 7. You should call me Shu sis. Yu Shu said. Heart, Ling Shan, don't mind her. Shu's just like that. Yu Tian didn't know if he should be laughing or crying at Shu's behavior. It's fine, I'll follow the rules when I come in. Ling Shan looked at Yu Shu and said faintly, but I don't think Lin Yi has ever acknowledged you as a small wife, right? What's wrong with calling you Shu sis when he does? Yu Tian smiled bitterly at Ling Shan's words. He didn't expect Ling Shan to be so sharp with her words. All right, Ling Shan, Shu, stop arguing. Boss Lin Yi hasn't woken up yet. Who's going to be the small wife? Yu Tian said. Yeah, Shu, stop arguing. Yun has already entrusted Lin Yi to us. What's there to argue about? Meng Yao was talking about Shu, but she was also telling Ling Shan about their relationship with Lin. Ling Shan smiled and didn't say anything. Bro, do you want to see Shield Bro? Yu Shu asked. That's second. I'm here to remind you guys not to stay in the villa. You guys should move out and find a more secluded place to stay. Yu Tian said, according to our experience, if the news of boss going crazy gets out, his enemies might come for revenge. It's too dangerous for the 2 of you to stay here alone. Meng Yao couldn't help but gasp. She had forgotten about this before, and now that Yu Tian reminded her, she suddenly remembered the time when Lin Yi was injured and fainted, and the noble houses came to him at the same time. She still had lingering fear when she thought about the situation at that time. Lin Yi had woken up at the critical moment, but what about now? It was impossible for Lin Yi to wake up now, and if more enemies came to their door, there was only one way. According to the information I received, at least the hidden house Pi behind Xiao family and the hidden house Yu behind house Yu won't let this go easily, so you guys better leave here as soon as possible. If these 2 houses send masters, Yu Tian Bro and I won't be able to fight them even if we work together. Ling Shan said. Thanks for the reminder, we'll pack up now. Meng Yao nodded decisively after listening. She didn't have the slightest bit of nostalgia for this huge villa. Since it wasn't hers anymore, what was the point of living here? When Lin Yi woke up, she could buy a bigger villa. Meng Yao had always been confident in Lin Yi, but she didn't know where this confidence came from. Was it just because of Lin Yi's tall figure during the bank robbery? We'll help you, we'll only pack the important things, the things that are meaningful to you guys. Leave the other furniture and appliances here, Yu Tian said. Okay. Meng Yao nodded and started packing with Yu Shu, Yu Tian, and Ling Shan. An hour later, Meng Yao and Yu Shu were panting as they tossed a couple of bags onto the car in the yard. These were all the useful stuff they'd packed, including a change of clothes and underwear, and a laptop with some photos and other important documents on it. The other computers had all been erased from the computer. Lin didn't have many things. Other than a few tattered clothes in his room, there were the clothes Meng Yao bought for him. Meng Yao packed these clothes together with some unknown things in Lin Yi's drawer. Finally done. Meng Yao breathed out in relief. She looked at the things that couldn't be taken away and shook her head. Goodbye, villa. From the moment she stepped out of the villa, she might never come back again. But, just when Meng Yao and Yushu put Lin Yi in the car and were about to leave, something unexpected happened. An uninvited guest came to the villa's doorstep, and even with Yutian and Lingshan's strength, they couldn't tell how this person got here. It was as if he just appeared out of thin air, without any warning. Chapter 1821. Stalling for time? Who's Lin? The person asked directly. Get him out here. Or you. What are you doing here? Yutian was shocked as he barked at the person. This person gave him a sense of danger, and his instincts told him that this person was very strong. Lingshan was shocked as well. She and Yutian had guessed that after the news of Lin Yi's deviation, someone would come looking for trouble with Lin Yi, but she didn't think that someone would come so soon. She wasn't sure of the person's identity, but it looked like he was definitely here to cause trouble. Otherwise, he wouldn't have asked for Lin Yi's whereabouts right away. I'm Yu Lu, under orders from the head of the Hidden House Yu to find Lin Yi and avenge the Common House Yu. I don't want to kill innocent people, get Lin Yi out here. With Yu Lu's status and strength, naturally he wouldn't hide who he was. He wasn't afraid that someone close to Lin Yi would go to the Hidden House Yu for revenge. In the Hidden House Yu, there were 2 sky-class masters overseeing the place. If he dared to go there for revenge, he would be courting death. Lingshan and Yutian looked at each other, understanding what was going on. It was the Hidden House Yu after all. They didn't expect them to come this fast. Lin Yi's deviation, and he hasn't come back. Don't you know? Lingshan said. Qi deviation? Yu Lu said coldly, maybe it's true, but he hasn't come back. I don't believe it. Who's in the car? Yu Lu was a very loyal person trained by House Yu, but that didn't mean he was an idiot. On the contrary, Yu Lu's training had trained him to be very meticulous. He could tell at first glance that these people were moving. As for why they were moving, it was obvious. They probably knew that their enemies would come looking for trouble, and so they wanted to leave first. Yu Lu locked his eyes on the car in the yard. Lingshan and Yutian looked at each other and yelled, Yao Yao, Shu, run. We'll handle this. With that, Lingshan and Yutian charged at Yu Lu, one on the left and one on the right. Meng Yao and Yushu were very nervous in the car, not expecting something like this to happen right before they left. Someone came looking for trouble, and they didn't know what to do. They were afraid that this person would do something to Lin Yi, but Yutian and Lingshan yelled. Meng Yao subconsciously started the car, stepped on the gas, and the car shot out of the villa like an arrow, speeding away. Yu Lu's eyes darkened. He didn't think that 2 late-phase peak mystic juniors would dare to attack him first. He could have easily dealt with Lingshan and Yutian, but Yu Lu hesitated as he remembered Yu Xiaochun's orders before he left, to target Lin Yi and not hurt the innocent. Although Yu Xiaochun was talking about the 2 girls beside Lin Yi, Yu Lu didn't know if he was talking about these 2 as well. He didn't know why Xiaochun wanted him to target Lin Yi, but he didn't question it. He carried it out. And because of that, he hesitated, not knowing how to deal with Lingshan and Yutian. And it was this moment of hesitation that gave Meng Yao the chance to drive away. Otherwise, with Yu Lu's skills, it would be a piece of cake for him to stop Meng Yao and Yushu. Move, or I won't go easy on you. Yu Lu warned faintly. Meng Yao and Yushu had left, but Yu Lu was confident that he could catch up to them in a short amount of time. After all, there were only a few roads in the villa area, and with his speed, he would be able to find them. In order to make these 2 retreat, Yu Lu channeled his practitioner's arts as well, and in an instant, his Earth-class mid-phase peak was on full display. His chi pressed down on Lingshan and Yutian. Lingshan and Yutian's faces changed. They knew their opponent's strength now. It was an Earth-class mid-phase peak. If they were facing someone who just entered Earth-class early phase, Lingshan and Yutian would have a chance if they worked together, but this was an Earth-class mid-phase peak. They had no chance at all. They weren't Lin Yi, and they didn't have the ability to fight someone stronger than them. Facing someone this much stronger than them, there was only one possibility: defeat. I'm a police, you're trespassing on private property, come back with me for investigation, Lingshan said. Rain Six paused. He'd thought that these two would be suppressed by his aura and retreat, or maybe they'd come at him without a care for their lives, but he didn't think that Lingshan would say something like this. Trespassing? Yu Lu scratched his head, but didn't do anything. He explained, I'm from a hidden house. I understand, I'll notify the investigation department, Lingshan said. Yu Lu was about to say that he was from a hidden house, and that he was bound by the association, but when he saw the cunning look in Lingshan's eyes, he understood immediately. This person was trying to stall for time, giving the other side a chance to escape. With that thought, Yu Lu didn't bother with Lingshan anymore. He turned around, wanting to chase after Yushu and Mengyao. Lingshan and Yutian understood immediately that Yu Lu understood. Lingshan's words did stall for time, but they couldn't guarantee that Yushu and Mengyao wouldn't be able to escape. They stood in front of Yu Lu, not letting him leave. Move, or I won't go easy on you, Yu Lu said coldly. Two Mystic Late Phase Peak, are you guys tired of living? At this point, Yu Lu had guessed that these two were from noble houses as well. He didn't know which noble house they were from, but they were definitely with Lin. Yu Lu was raging inwardly. These two Mystic Juniors were messing up his plans, and he wanted to kill them immediately. But, remembering what Xiaochen had told him, he didn't do it. After all, he didn't understand what Xiaochen meant. Xiaochen's words were very vague, and Yu Lu didn't know if Xiaochen only wanted the two girls with Lin Yi to be harmed, or did he want everyone else to be harmed? After all, Xiaochen had added that House Yu had a debtor, and he couldn't be too domineering. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1822. Us two juniors are untalented. We'd like to experience your strength. Yutian forced himself to speak to Yu Lu. Yu Lu frowned. He didn't expect these two to be so persistent. A wave of frustration rose in his heart as he pushed his palms out, one on the left and one on the right. It seemed like he was pushing them out randomly, hitting Lingshan and Yutian on the left and right. An Earth-class mid-phase peak and a Mystic late-phase peak were worlds apart. They couldn't be compared at all, especially with Yu Lu's skills. He could kill Yutian and Lingshan with ease. But Yu Xiaochen's warning made Yu Lu cautious. He used his skills. He didn't use his full strength, only sending Lingshan and Yutian flying. They wouldn't be heavily injured, but some light injuries were unavoidable. Lingshan and Yutian's bodies flew out, one on the left and one on the right. Both of them felt sorrow. They couldn't even take a single hit from Yu Lu. They didn't even see how Yu Lu did it, and they were already flying out. This meant that the difference in strength between the two was just too huge. Yutian and Lingshan's thoughts of risking their lives was a joke. If Yu Lu wanted to kill them, they'd be dead already. But be it Yutian or Lingshan, they didn't know why Yu Lu would go easy on them. Looking at how aggressive he was when he came for Lin Yi, he didn't look like a merciful person at all, did he? But this was a question that would never be answered. After sending Lingshan and Yutian flying, Yu Lu disappeared into the night, chasing after Yushu and Mengyao. At this moment, Mengyao's jeep was parked quietly under an overpass. Mengyao, on the other hand, was carrying a huge pile of bags, waiting quietly under an overpass. Yushu was carrying Lin Yi on her back. The two of them ran with all their might in the dark night. The two knew that Yu Lu would definitely chase after them, so Mengyao abandoned the car. They changed to walking, although it was harder. But at least they wouldn't expose themselves easily. Phew! Mengyao was already out of breath. She didn't know where the energy came from, but she had two bags in her hands. He did not feel tired at all. Yushu, on the other hand, ran as fast as she could with Lin Yi on her back. In a dangerous situation, a person's potential was limitless. However, the potential of these two people was obviously stronger than that of a normal person. Sky Thunder Pig and General Wei Wu, on the other hand, each carried more than 3 bags, but they ran very fast as well. This bit of weight seemed to be nothing to them. It was just that there was a limit to how much space they could carry on their bodies. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a problem to hand over the 2 bags in Mingyao's hands and choose Lin Yi. Yao Yao, how much longer do we have to run? I'm running out of energy. Yushu and Lin Yi had been running ever since they got off the overpass, and they'd already run 1,000 meters. Find a secluded place, at least one of those back alleys. Mouse. Your shield bro is dead meat if he gets caught. Oh, then Shu's full of energy again. Yushu gritted her teeth. Mengyao was a little speechless. This Shu, the moment she mentioned that Lin Yi was in danger, she'd go all out in her little universe. In front of them was an old building district. This was one of the earliest buildings in Songshan, but it was also the most dilapidated one. The buildings here were all decades old, and most of them were 3-story red brick houses. Because of the problems with the planning, they didn't consider things like roads, so there were only alleys between the buildings, and the alleys were all enclosed by the residents on the first floor, turning it into their own yard. Dirty, messy, and broken. This was Mengyao and Yushu's first impression. If it weren't for this escape, they wouldn't have come to a place like this no matter what. Perhaps they wouldn't come here for the rest of their lives, but Mengyao purposely chose this place today. First, there were more obstacles here. The boxes were narrow, and the front of the yard was filled with junk. It was easy to find a hiding spot. Second, cars couldn't enter this place, and the two left in their car. If Yulu didn't see them hiding in the parking lot under the overpass, he wouldn't have thought that they were in an alley like this. Let's rest for a bit, Mengyao said to Yushu, who was panting heavily. She really couldn't walk anymore. Okay. Yushu might have gone all out, but she was exhausted as well. Naturally, she agreed with Mengyao's suggestion. The two found a pile of junk in front of a house and hid behind it carefully. Yulu chased after them, walking on the rooftops and telephone poles. He could see the streets below, and as an Earth-class mid-phase peak, it was a piece of cake for him. Yulu was furious. If it weren't for Yutian and Lingshan, he would have caught up to Mengyao and Yushu long ago. But now, he could only rely on his instincts to search the area. Finally, Yulu's eyes landed on the parking lot under the overpass. There weren't many cars in the parking lot at night, and if he looked carefully, he would be able to find Mengyao's jeep easily. The next moment, Yulu appeared beside the jeep. He touched the car's hood, a cold smile on his face. He leaped up again, jumping onto the overpass. A driver who was passing by suddenly saw someone appear on the bridgehead. He almost got into an accident, thinking that he'd seen a ghost. Yulu was observing the surrounding terrain. Since Mengyao and Yushu had abandoned the car and walked, Yulu was thinking, which path would he choose if he were in their shoes? Finally, Yulu's eyes landed on an area of old buildings not too far away from the overpass. He could see what was going on in the other streets and neighborhoods, but that area of old buildings was built in a complicated manner. The tallest one was a 3-story building, and there wasn't a single place where he could get a good view of the entire area. This was the place. Rain 6 set his sights on this area of old buildings. If there was someone following him, then Rain 6 would have chosen this area as well, since there were too many places to hide and adapt to the situation. A small alleyway was all it took to lose his pursuer. After making up his mind, Yulu walked quickly towards the old building area. Chapter 1823. Yao Yao, that Yulu won't come after us, will he? Yushu had a bad feeling about this, as if Yulu could come after them. I don't know. Mengyao looked at the closed doors of the houses, thinking how great it would be if they could hide in one of the houses. But she didn't know them, and even if they told her to hide in one of the houses, Mengyao wouldn't dare do it. After all, they weren't familiar with the place, and who knew if they had bad intentions. In the distance, a series of footsteps could be heard. It was especially clear in the empty alleyway, and Mengyao and Yushu's hearts jumped. At that moment, the hairs on the two's backs stood up. They were wondering if Yulu had followed them here. The footsteps were getting nearer and nearer, and Mengyao and Yushu subconsciously shrunk back. They were hiding behind a pile of junk, but if someone were to pass by, they'd still notice their silhouettes. Just as the person was about to pass by, the sound of coughing could be heard. It was the sound of an old woman coughing. Clearly, it was also the sound of the person who had come. Cough, cough. The cough made Mengyao and Yushu relax. Thank goodness it wasn't Yulu. Not long after, a short old lady pushed a cart and slowly walked over. However, the old lady walked very slowly. Her eyes seemed to be sizing up the ground as she walked. She was a scavenger, and her cart was filled with broken cardboard boxes, bottles, and scrap metal. She looked around to see if there were any discarded bottles. When she passed by Meng Yao and Yushu, she saw the two curled up behind a pile of junk. The old lady's eyes flashed when she saw the two girls hiding there. She didn't know what they were doing here, but she subconsciously looked at them a few more times. Then, a look of disbelief appeared in the old lady's eyes. "Fairies, you're the fairies?" The old lady stopped in her tracks and cried out to Meng Yao and Yushu. Meng Yao and Yushu listened to the old lady's words. They froze for a second, but in the next moment, they recognized the old lady. She was the old lady who picked up scraps at the back door of Tiandi Entertainment. She was humiliated by Zhening Jun, and Lin Yi transferred her disease to Zhening Jun. At that time, the old lady's chronic illness was suddenly cured. Naturally, she thought that Meng Yao and Yushu were fairies. After all, only fairies could do that, right? No matter how good a doctor was, he could only cure her illness. However, they could transfer their pain to the young man who bullied them. Only immortals could do this. With that, the old lady put down the car and was about to kneel down to greet Meng Yao and Yushu. Being able to meet a goddess once was already a blessing for her ancestors. One could imagine how excited the old lady was to be able to meet a fairy for the second time. "Granny, we're not fairies." Meng Yao subconsciously stopped the old woman from kneeling down. After all, they couldn't accept the old woman's kowtow. "You must be fairies. If you're not fairies, how can you cure this old lady's chronic illness? And how can you transfer the disease to that evil man?" "Did you transfer it to that evil person?" asked the granny. Meng Yao didn't know how Lin Yi did it, and so she couldn't explain it. If it weren't for the fact that Lin Yi had so many miraculous abilities, she would have been surprised if it was the first time she saw something like this. "Two fairies. If you don't mind, you can come to my house. I want to donate all my savings over the years as incense money to you," said the old lady. "You're not willing to accept this old lady's kowtow from me, but if you don't mind, you can come to my house." She was a grateful old woman, and she'd been scavenging for a living all these years. Her disability made it hard for her to move around, and the things she could scavenge every day were limited. But now that her legs were more agile, her income had increased greatly. She could now go to places she couldn't go before, and it was only natural that she was grateful to Meng Yao and Yushu. Meng Yao and Yushu looked at each other. The two weren't greedy for the old lady's incense money, but they were worried about finding a place to hide. Since the old lady invited them, and it was someone they knew, they weren't afraid of someone with ulterior motives. It was exactly what Meng Yao and Yushu wanted. "Sure, Granny, but we're not fairies. We'll tell you in detail when we get to your house." Meng Yao could see that the old lady was a kind person. She wouldn't pretend to be a fairy to trick her. Okay, that's great." The old lady couldn't stop smiling when she heard Meng Yao and Yushu's agreement. In fact, it didn't matter if Meng Yao and Yushu were fairies or not. The important thing was that the old lady had met her benefactors again. Being able to repay them was what made the old lady the happiest. Meng Yao lifted the bag, and Yushu carried Lin Yi on her back. The old lady paused when she saw this scene. "Fairies, let me help you carry this. How can I let you do manual labor?" "Granny, it's fine." But before Meng Yao could finish, the old lady took the bag from her hands easily and put it on the cart. Lin Yi, who was on Yushu's back, was also carried by the old lady. The scene stunned Meng Yao and Yushu. They didn't expect this skinny old lady to be so strong. The old lady smiled when she saw the shock. "I used to carry a sack on the streets when my legs weren't as good as before. What heavy things haven't I carried before? Now that my legs are healed, this is nothing." Meng Yao and Yushu calmed down after hearing the old lady's words. They walked forward with the old lady. The old lady, on the other hand, saw Skybolt Pig and General Wei Wu on the ground. She blinked and rubbed her eyes. She was sure that Meng Yao and Yushu were fairies. In her entire life, she had never seen a pig that could walk on two legs and a dog that could carry things like this. If she wasn't a fairy, how could there be such a spiritual beast in the celestial world? Wasn't this something that only happened in the journey to the west? However, since she didn't want to admit it, the old granny didn't insist. Perhaps she was a fairy who had descended to the mortal world and wanted to keep it a secret. The old grandma's house wasn't far from here, and it was also on the first floor. The old grandma opened the door and let Yushu and Mengyao in first, before closing the door behind them. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for me at Chidian. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1824. This is my house, and it's a bit messy. Please don't mind. The old lady said. St. Hall, Grandma, we really aren't fairies. Besides, it's good enough that we have a place to stay. Mengyao smiled bitterly. She didn't know why, but the old lady was so sure that they were fairies. With that, the old lady opened the door, and the group entered the house. The yard was messy with all sorts of junk everywhere, but the house was clean and tidy. The old lady lived in an old house with 2 bedrooms and 1 living room. There wasn't much decoration, and there wasn't any good furniture either. Even so, the house was clean and spotless. It was obvious that the old lady was a hard-working person. Please have a seat, fairies, I'll make you some tea. The old lady placed Lin Yi on the sofa carefully. She didn't know what happened to Lin Yi, but she didn't dare ask if the 2 fairies didn't want to talk about it. The old lady recognized Lin Yi as the man who was with the 2 fairies at the back door of Tiandi Entertainment. Don't bother, Grandma, we really aren't fairies. Not only that, we have a favor to ask. Mengyao quickly stopped the old lady from making tea. St. Hall, not long after the 3 entered the yard, a figure appeared at the entrance of the alley. It was Yu Lu. Yu Lu's eyes looked coldly at the empty alleyway. He flew up to the top of a 3-story building, looking down at the alleyway, but he didn't see anything out of place. This was the innermost alleyway. He'd searched the other alleyways, but Mengyao and the others weren't there. He'd thought that Mengyao and Yushu would be hiding here, but they weren't there. Could it be that they really weren't here? Or did they think that I would definitely follow them to this alley when I saw them abandoning their car? So, they deliberately didn't go here and chose the main street where it would be easier for them to be exposed? Yu Lu's face darkened at the thought. He felt that he'd underestimated Mengyao and Yushu. The most dangerous place was also the safest place. Why hadn't he thought of that? Of course, Yu Lu didn't think that Mengyao would know any friends or relatives in this old building district. After all, judging from the villa district they lived in, it was impossible for them to have any interaction with the people living here. St. Hall, Yu Lu sighed softly as he left the area, returning to the jeep under the overpass, trying to figure out the escape route Mengyao and Yushu might have taken. Even if he found the right route, he might not be able to catch up to them. It had been a long time, after all, and Yushu might have found a hotel and settled down by now. But no matter what, Yu Lu had to give it a try. Mengyao wanted to find a place to stay, so she didn't hide anything. She told the old grandma about her, Yushu, and Lin Yi being followed. She also explained that she and Yushu weren't fairies, but Lin Yi was a great doctor. He could cure her and create similar symptoms for Zhening Jun at the same time. The old grandma didn't think twice about Mingyao's request to stay here for a while. She was a lonely old lady, and Mingyao's arrival wouldn't bring her any inconvenience. Plus, the old grandma wanted to repay Mengyao and Yushu, so she wouldn't reject them. Although you say that you are not fairies, from what this old woman has seen for dozens of years, even if you are not fairies, you are still extraordinary people. Being able to let you live here is the good fortune that this old woman has accumulated in her previous life. This old woman is truly very happy. The old woman said, "Thank you, Grandma." Mengyao and Yushu finally let out a sigh of relief. They'd planned to find a more secluded hotel to stay in, but even if they could use Ling Yi's name to register, Yu Lu wouldn't be able to find them. After all, the 3 of them were too obvious, and 2 girls with an unconscious boy. He'd be able to find them easily if he went to any hotel and asked around. As long as Lin Yi stayed in the house and didn't come out, who would pay attention to an old lady who picked up scraps? No need to thank me, I should be the one thanking you. I can't thank you enough for letting me enjoy the life of a normal person before I die. The old lady said, "By the way, you said that the young miracle-working doctor was in a coma because of illness. He must need to buy medicine. I don't have much savings in my life, but I'll give it all to you. It's a token of my gratitude to the young miracle-working doctor for treating me." But Mengyao and Yushu were in need of money, But they didn't want to take the old grandma's money. "Take this," the old woman said as she took out a bankbook, handing it to Mengyao and Yushu. "I've been an old woman for my whole life. My husband and kids are gone, I don't really need money." Mengyao was shocked when she saw the number on the bankbook. There was 100,000. She didn't think that a lonely old grandma could get so much money by scavenging. "Maybe I'll lend it to you, and I'll return it to you later." Mengyao thought about her father's situation and Lin Yi's situation. She accepted the bankbook with a thick face. She needed money right now, and although Jiang Wen had sent over a sum of money, it wasn't enough to cover her father's medical expenses. Plus, Lin Yi's medical expenses weren't there yet. "Ha, it doesn't matter if you return it or not. But you said someone was following you, why didn't you call the police?" the old grandma asked curiously. Mengyao didn't know how to explain. "That person is very strong, and he's already a practitioner." "Do you know what practitioners are?" "Practitioners?" The old lady's eyes suddenly flashed with a strange light, but she quickly returned to normal as if she was reminiscing. After a while, she shook her head and said, "I think I've heard of it before, but it's been too long, so I can't remember." Mengyao nodded, not minding too much. After all, normal people didn't know much about practitioners. Even if they did hear about it, it was just a rumor. The only people who could see it with their own eyes were the bodyguards of big bosses. Chapter 1825. It was naturally impossible for an old lady who scavenged for scraps to know anything about cultivators. They're very powerful people, similar to the martial arts masters of the ancient times. Mengyao smiled bitterly. These people's kung fu is very high, and they appear and disappear unpredictably. I understand now. So you've offended a martial arts master. The old lady nodded. Then we'll settle down here first. I'm just a scavenger, and no one will notice me. It's very safe here. Mengyao nodded. Grandma will go scavenge with you tomorrow. Mengyao had decided that she had to do something. The money she had, along with the old lady's 100,000, was only enough to pay for her father's medical fees for a short period of time. If Lin Yi didn't wake up by then, she would have to continue paying for his medical fees to keep him alive. Although the hospital couldn't wake her father up, Lin Yi must have a way. She had to hold on until Lin Yi woke up, and she couldn't give up on treatment. Chapter 1840. Where would the money come from? Mengyao had been thinking about this problem. She had thought about finding a place to work, but after you lose tracking, she knew that it was impossible. At least, she couldn't show her face in public. Scavenging with the old lady was Mengyao's only choice. No one would have thought that the high and mighty miss of Pengzhan Industries would become a little girl who scavenged for scraps. Even Mengyao herself didn't think that there would be a day where she would do this, let alone Yu Lu and the others. But from the moment Tang Yun made her decision and returned to the villa, Mengyao's mind had changed. Miss? Without her father's halo, she was nothing. She couldn't even be compared to Tang Yun. So she didn't have any mental barriers following the old lady. She could rely on her own hands for Lin Yi and her father. There was nothing to be embarrassed about. There's no need. Just stay at home. I can handle it myself. I don't need to say much. I'll pay for the little miracle doctor's medical expenses every day. The old lady said with a smile, I've been picking up trash for decades. I'm experienced. Sanctuary. Grandma, the more people, the more we earn. Mengyao said firmly. That's fine, but you two girls with delicate skin should wear masks. Otherwise, if someone sees you, they will be suspicious. The old lady hesitated for a moment and said. Mengyao realized, to her surprise, that the old granny was actually very meticulous. She could think of details that even they couldn't. What kind of herbs do you need? I'll get them for you tonight. The old lady asked. Takidara, the recipe is here. Mengyao wanted to say that she wanted to go with the old grandma, but she was afraid of bumping into Yu Lu. After all, Yu Lu would be wandering around the area looking for them. Mengyao said, Grandma, let General Weiwu go with you. He can protect you. It's already so late, I'm worried about you being alone. This old woman is also very famous in this area. Who would rob a ragpicker like me? The old lady smiled faintly, but seeing Ming Yao's insistence, she nodded and said, "All right, I'll go with him." "The General Wei Wu you're talking about, is it this dog?" "Yes, General Wei Wu, you go with Grandma to buy the medicine. Protect Grandma's safety, understand?" Meng Yao ordered General Wei Wu. Woof woof. General Wei Wu nodded, indicating that it understood. On the other hand, the old lady was a little surprised when she saw General Wei Wu. Such a smart dog surprised her. Although she saw that the dog was carrying a lot of baggage, she didn't pay much attention to it. Many animals were stronger than humans, but now that she looked at General Wei Wu, she couldn't help but let out a huh. She was full of surprise. "What's wrong?" Meng Yao asked curiously. "It's nothing, this dog is really smart." The old lady shook her head and said kindly to General Wei Wu, "Let's go, follow me to buy the medicine." Woof woof. General Wei Wu immediately followed the old lady out of the room. After the old lady left the room, Meng Yao sighed deeply. "Shoo, we're really lucky to have met the old lady. Otherwise, we wouldn't even have a place to stay." "Yeah, Prophet Shu is really amazing. She asked Shield Bro to do a good deed, and now she's getting rewarded." Yu Shu nodded. Meng Yao was speechless. If her prophecy had come true, then it would have been reasonable, but what happened today was just a coincidence. This girl really knew how to take credit for something. Naturally, Yu Lu wouldn't be interested in an old lady who brought a dog out to buy medicine. He looked around and didn't see Meng Yao and Yu Shu, so he went to Yu Shaochen to ask for forgiveness. Because of a small mistake, he'd missed a good opportunity, and he was filled with regret. But, after listening to Yu Lu's explanation, Shaochen didn't blame him. He only had himself to blame for not making things clear before, causing Yu Lu to be afraid. Shaochen wasn't someone who didn't know what was good and bad, so he only asked Yu Lu to go to Lin Yi's villa and see if he could find anything. If he couldn't, then he'd give up for now. If Meng Yao really wanted to hide, then Yu Lu alone wouldn't be able to find any clues. There was no need for him to waste his time. House Chu's villa. Ling Shan and Yu Tian had left a long time ago. The two were only lightly injured, and even they didn't know why Yu Lu was merciful. But no matter what, they were still alive. Meng Yao and Yu Shu were gone, and they wouldn't stay in the villa for long. If Yu Lu came back, they wouldn't be a match for him. Without Meng Yao and Yu Shu, they'd be idiots to fight Yu Lu head-on. And so, when Yu Lu returned to the villa, there was no one there. Yu Lu started searching from the first floor until he turned the villa upside down. He didn't find anything valuable. After finding nothing, Yu Lu left Songshan quietly and returned to the hidden house Yu. Under the dim light, Meng Yao carefully sat in front of the stove, looking at the medicine in the pot. She'd followed Elder Zhang's instructions strictly, but what made her heart ache was that the medicine Lin used cost more than 1,000 kwai. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1826. With difficulty walking, Part 2. This was only the price of the first prescription. The second prescription hadn't been filled yet, but the old lady had shown it to the owner of the pharmacy, and the price was even higher. Of course, this amount of money wasn't much to Meng Yao and Yu Shu in the past, but it was a huge amount now. Meng Yao was going to use the money she had to send to Faubert tomorrow for her father's medical fees, and it might not even be enough. Lin Yi's medical fees, on the other hand, would have to rely on scavenging every day. Not only that, but she also had to save up some money for Faubert. Meng Yao felt a headache coming on as she thought about how to make ends meet. She'd never had to worry about money before, but this was the first time she'd experienced the pain of not having enough money. Yao, even if Shield Bro wakes up in a month, we'd have to pick up at least 5,000 kwai worth of trash every day just to survive. Yu Shu said as she calculated the daily expenditure. Lin Yi's medical fees and Peng Zhan's medical fees were a huge sum. 5,000? Meng Yao smiled bitterly. How was that even possible? Scavenging wasn't like picking up gold. How were they supposed to scavenge 5,000 yuan a day? Yu Shu shut her mouth after saying that. Luckily, the two had brought some jewelry with them when they left. They didn't like to wear jewelry normally, but they would still wear jewelry in formal occasions. It wasn't much, but they could still sell it for some money. It was just that it wouldn't be much, since the two didn't have any expensive jewelry. They only had normal stuff. The next morning, Meng Yao and Yushu changed into ragged outfits. They didn't think too much about it when they left, and only took their best clothes. Going scavenging in these clothes would definitely attract attention, and they'd take a photo and post it on the internet. They'd be labeled as the most beautiful scavenger girl, and it'd be too late for Yushu and Yushu to cry. They'd be waiting for Yulu to find clues. Yushu's body was about the same size as the old grandma's, and she could fit into the old grandma's old clothes, but Meng Yao couldn't. Left with no choice, she found the most ordinary-looking clothes she had and made them very wrinkled and dirty. That way, the original value of the clothes couldn't be seen anymore, and it looked like something bought from the streets for a long time, something that hadn't been taken care of in a long time. The two of them looked at each other's sloppy appearance and couldn't help but smile bitterly at the same time. They never thought that they would be in such dire straits one day. It was easy to go from frugality to extravagance, but hard to go from extravagance to frugality. But in their hearts, this was nothing compared to what Tang Yun had done for Lin Yi. It was easy to go from frugality to extravagance, but hard to go from extravagance to frugality. But in their hearts, for Lin Yi, this kind of hardship was nothing compared to what Tang Yun had done. Thinking about how Tang Yun was willing to endure the torment of love for Lin Yi, Meng Yao and Yushu felt that at least they could stay by Lin Yi's side. Wasn't this a kind of happiness? Faubert only heard about the changes in the villa from Lingshan and Yutian the next day. When he heard that Meng Yao and Yushu had run away, he didn't know if Yu Lu had caught up to them, and he started to panic. Beside the ICU, Faubert subconsciously wanted to call Meng Yao after hearing Lingshan's words. "Don't bother, we've already called them yesterday." Both of them turned off their phones. Lingshan smiled bitterly. "Turned off? Did Yu Lu catch them?" Faubert asked. "There are two possibilities. One is that they turned off their phones to avoid Yu Lu's pursuit. After all, GPS isn't complicated, and if House Yu really wanted to, they could find them through their phone numbers." Lingshan said, "The other possibility is that Yu Lu caught them and turned off their phones, but that's less likely, since Yu Lu is looking for Lin Yi, not Meng Yao and Yushu. There's no point in catching them. So my analysis is that they've successfully escaped Yu Lu's pursuit. Otherwise, if Yu Lu really did catch them and make a move on Lin Yi, they'd contact us for sure." "Yes, I can tell that Yu Lu's target is Lin Yi. He doesn't even have the intention to hurt the people around Lin. He gave me and Lingshan a slap each yesterday, but we only got light injuries, and we're almost healed in one night." Yutian agreed. "That's good." Faubert breathed out in relief. But, just as the three finished talking, Faubert's phone rang. Faubert took it out and saw that it was an unfamiliar landline. Faubert's heart sank as he picked up the phone. "Hello? Faubert, it's Yao Yao. Give me your bank account number, I have 200,000 with me. I'll transfer it to you to pay for Dad's medical fees. Don't stop the treatment." Meng Yao said worriedly. She didn't use her or Shu's phone. They had the same problem as Lingshan. If Yu Lu wanted to, he'd definitely be able to track their phones, so Meng Yao found a random public phone. The 200,000 included Jiang Wen's 100,000 and the old grandma's 100,000. As for the line, Meng Yao didn't dare contact Jiang Wen again, so she had to let it go for now. 200,000? Faubert was a little surprised at how Meng Yao got so much money, but he was more worried about them and Lin Yi's safety. "Yao Yao, how are you and Yi? I heard that House Yu's Yu Lu is after you?" "Yeah, we've successfully escaped. He didn't notice us." Meng Yao said, "We're safe now. Tell me your bank account number. Shu and I will try to earn as much money as we can, as long as you're fine." Faubert breathed out in relief. Since Meng Yao didn't want to tell him where they were, Faubert didn't want to ask. After all, he was afraid that he'd be found out if he knew too much. It was better not to know. "My bank account number is..." With that, Faubert gave her his bank account number. "All right, I'll remember it. I'll leave Dad to you," Meng Yao said after writing it down. "Then you guys be careful," Faubert said. "I know, Faubert, I won't contact you for a while. I'll transfer the money to you when I get it," Meng Yao said. "As long as we hold on until Lin Yi wakes up, everything will be fine." "I understand." Faubert nodded, relieved. "Yao Yao, don't worry, I'll take care of Mr. Chu. Target equals, and try. Chapter 1827. Mengyao and Yushu blushed when they heard Grandma Sun's words. They used to throw their old clothes away, and they often forgot to take out the change inside, but they didn't feel bad about it. Grandma Sun's words seemed to be mocking their old lifestyles. Mengyao and Yushu knew that Grandma Sun didn't mean it that way, but they couldn't help but think of their old lives. In the past, they thought that they were already very frugal compared to those second-generation rich people, but now they realized that they were still very extravagant. Of course, if they were the ones in the villa Grandma Sun was talking about, they would probably make the same choice. 3,000 was a small amount to them in the past. If a kind person picked it up and gave it back, they would naturally think that the person was a good person and give it to him. But now, that was then and this was now. Of course, these are all things that we can't ask for. Our main source of income is still these bottles and paper. Grandma Sun didn't notice the unnatural expressions on Mengyao and Yushu's faces. Oh, we'll continue scavenging. Yushu blushed. Xuemin's house. Holy Hall. There were a few people sitting here. They weren't familiar with each other, but they were all related to Xuemin and Lin Yi, so they gathered together. These people were Xuemin, Fatty Lai, Wu Chintian, Sun Jingyi, Lingshan, and Yutian. Lingshan and Yutian told Guan Xuemin, Fatty Lai, and the others about Lin Yi's predicament, hoping that they could think of a solution. But Yu Lu was from a hidden house, and none of the people here could go against a hidden house. Man, I wanted to talk to Dean Qin and ask him to waive Pengzhan's medical fees, but Xiang refused. Xuemin said with a bitter smile. Guan Xiaoxiang had already fought with Guan Xuemin because of the bankruptcy of Miracle Doctor Guan's medical company. Guan Xiaoxiang reminded Guan Xuemin not to be cheated, but in the end, all of Guan Xuemin's money went into Miracle Doctor Guan's medical company, but it still couldn't save the company from bankruptcy. Once the capital chain of a rapidly developing pharmaceutical company was broken, it would be like a building that would collapse in an instant. There would be no room for recovery. That was why Guan Xiaoxiang took it to heart. When he was young, he wanted to use Xuemin's name to start a pharmaceutical company, but he was never allowed to do so. This time, he was naturally unhappy with those related to Lin. Holy Church, Pengzhan's medical fees were, of course, official business. Not a single cent could be deducted. This time, everyone came to Xuemin's house to discuss Pengzhan's medical fees. After all, when Fatty Lai's company was in crisis, these people basically took out their personal savings. Now, they didn't have any money to take out. Man, if I hadn't sold my company earlier, I wouldn't be in such a tight spot right now. Sun Jingyi sighed. House Sun had tacitly approved Sun Jingyi's freedom of love, so Sun Jingyi sold her company and returned to House Sunday. Now, Lin Yi was in trouble, and elder Sun froze Sun Jingyi's account, leaving Sun Jingyi with no money to use. Wu Chintian's old man, Wu Gonggao, was even more snobbish, and Chintian became penniless as well. As for House Song and House Qin, they didn't have any businesses, and their salaries couldn't afford Pengzhan's huge medical fees at all. It's all my fault. If I wasn't in a hurry to expand the factory, I wouldn't have ended up like this. Fatty Lai said, heartbroken. Forget it, this isn't the time to blame someone. Xuemin sighed. If it comes down to it, I'll put down my pride and talk to Dean Qin. I don't need to deduct the medical fees, but can we postpone it for a while? As long as Lin Yi recovers, everything will be fine. Yeah, when boss recovers, we'll take back what we lost. Fatty Lai nodded. In the blink of an eye, a week had passed. Although they had General Wei Wu's help, the three's daily income was only around 500 to 1,000. There weren't many problems, and Lin Yi's medical fees were completely supported by the money that Grandma Sun didn't have time to deposit in the bank. But seeing that the money was dwindling day by day, Mengyao and Yushu were very worried. If this continued, there would be a day when they wouldn't be able to hold on until Lin Yi woke up. If it comes down to it, let's get Skybolt Pig to join the operation tomorrow. Skybolt Pig was currently staying with Lin Yi at home every day. Since Skybolt's body was too unique, Mengyao didn't want to attract people's attention if she brought him out, but there was no other choice now. Skybolt Pig. Yushu suddenly had an idea. Skybolt Pig can look for treasures, right? Then can he look for trash? Yeah. Meng Yao blinked at Yushu's words, but then said happily, "How did I forget that? Skybolt Pig can look for treasures, so he can look for treasures in trash too, right? Skybolt Pig, come here." Yushu waved at Skybolt Pig. Skybolt Pig seemed to have heard the conversation between Meng Yao and Yushu, and he walked over unwillingly. "Can you find something valuable in the trash? Don't say no," Yushu said to Skybolt Pig. Skybolt Pig was speechless. What was the point of asking if he couldn't say no? He could only nod, feeling wronged. "All right then, pretend to be a dog tomorrow. I'll give you some furry clothes and you'll help us look for treasures," Yushu said. Pretend to be a dog? Skybolt Pig shook his head at that. He was different from humans and he was used to not wearing clothes. Wouldn't he die of heat if he wore furry clothes all of a sudden? "I'm telling you, if you don't help us look for treasures, Shield Bro won't wake up and no one will help you level up. You'll just have to fend for yourself," Yushu threatened. Skybolt Pig wasn't scared at all, and he nodded quickly after hearing Yushu's words. "He'll pretend to be a dog then. I'll depend on your performance tomorrow." Yushu nodded, satisfied. In fact, Meng Yao and Yushu didn't have much hope before Skybolt Pig joined the scavenger hunt. Chapter 1828. This little thing had a keen sense of smell when it came to heavenly treasures, but it was hard to say when it came to trash. Holy Church, however, if the Skybolt Pig really found a treasure of heaven and earth, wouldn't he be able to sell it for a lot of money? It was better than nothing. It was always good to try his luck. The next day, Meng Yao, Yushu, and Grandma Sun brought General Wei Wu and Skybolt Pig with them. Grandma Sun already knew the best route every day, so she followed the same route almost every day. But today, after walking for a while, the Skybolt Pig pointed in a direction with its paw and squeaked. "Oh!" Meng Yao hesitated, but decided to listen to the pig. "Grandma Sun, let's go in that direction." "All right." Grandma Sun didn't understand why Meng Yao would trust this piglet, but it was obviously different from normal pigs, so Grandma Sun decided to trust it for once. Following Skybolt Pig, the three of them and General Wei Wu chased him all the way to a trash can in a residential area. Skybolt Pig pointed at the trash can with his claws and squeaked again, "What's your name? If there's anything good, go pick it out." Yushu barked at Skybolt Pig. "Holy Church Ji." The Skybolt Pig looked at the dirty trash can and felt wronged. It was an ancient spiritual beast and had never been treated like this before. But when he thought of saving Lin Yi, he could only walk towards the trash can unwillingly. "Let this old woman do it for you." Grandma Sun didn't mind. Rummaging through trash was a common thing for her. There was no psychological barrier at all. With that, Grandma Sun began to rummage through the trash can. Soon, she found a few drink bottles and a few waste paper boxes from the trash can. However, these gains could only be regarded as ordinary. Such gains could be found in any trash can in any community. It was obviously not worth it to run so far for it. However, the trash can was almost empty. All the obvious things had been found by Grandma Sunday. There was probably nothing more valuable. Let's just look for it step by step in the future. Grandma Sun put the cardboard boxes and bottles on the trolley and was about to leave, but the Skybolt Pig pointed at the trash can and continued to squeak. Yushu was a little pissed off at Skybolt Pig and was just about to yell at it when she heard the pig barking. "Skybolt Pig, are you saying that there's more good stuff in here?" Yushu asked after a pause. "Skybolt Pig, are you saying that there's something good in here?" "GG." The Skybolt Pig nodded affirmatively. Takitra Grandma Sun was surprised to see a piglet that could understand human language. However, since it said that there were more, Grandma Sun believed it this time. She carefully rummaged through the trash can again. This time, she was more careful than the last time. Her eyes were no longer focused on the drink bottles and paper shells. Finally, at the bottom of the bin, Grandma Sun found an iPhone. Although the screen of the iPhone was obviously damaged, Grandma Sun tested it and found that the phone could still be turned on. In other words, the owner of the phone might have thrown it away after the screen was damaged and didn't bother to repair it. Grandma Sun picked up junk every day, and naturally, she had a lot of experience. It was common for her to find broken phones like this, and this iPhone only had a broken screen. If the other functions were normal, She could sell it to a second-hand phone shop for at least 1,000. This reward made Grandma Sun overjoyed. She didn't expect this little pig to have such abilities. The reward of this broken phone was equivalent to 2 days of her usual income. Can this broken phone be sold for money? Meng Yao looked at the excited Grandma Sun strangely and asked. Of course, this is the latest model. It's just the broken screen, and the other functions should be fine. If you sell it to a second-hand shop, you can sell it for at least 1,000. Grandma Sun said. Meng Yao's face turned red. This was the first time she knew that a broken phone like this could be sold for money. She would throw it away when there was a problem with her phone in the past. She would never think of selling it. Not bad, Skybolt Pig. Yushu looked at Skybolt Pig with praise. Continue. If you can earn more money every day, Shield Bro will wake up soon, and I'll ask him to help you level up. Like. Skybolt Pig heard Yushu's words and nodded happily. After leaving the place, the three didn't return to their previous location. Instead, they started to pick up scraps on the streets of the district. This time, it didn't take long before Skybolt Pig pointed at a direction and barked again. This time, Grandma Sun was experienced. Without Meng Yao and Yushu saying anything, she pushed the cart and followed Skybolt Pig. She was afraid that if she was one step late, the good things would be taken by others. Skybolt Pig led the way, and after a few turns, they came to another residential area. There was a family moving, and beside the moving company's car, there was an old refrigerator and some old furniture. Skybolt Pig pointed at the old refrigerator and the old furniture and barked. Excuse me, do you not want these things anymore? Grandma Sun hesitated and walked to the moving company's car. She asked the person who was obviously the employer. Nope, I bought a new house. This thing is old and it's not very useful anymore. If you want it, I'll give it to you. The employer waved his hand casually and said to Grandma Sunday. The refrigerator wasn't very old, and it looked like it could still be used. The furniture that was thrown away was a copper bedside table, some angle iron, and wooden boards. This kind of copper bed was not popular anymore. The employer probably got rich and bought a new house, and these old things that affected the style of the house were definitely not going to be used anymore. Thank you very much. Grandma Sun said and moved the refrigerator and the copper bedside table to the cart. According to Grandma Sun's experience, this refrigerator could be sold for at least 300 to 500, and the copper bedside table could be sold for a few hundred just by selling it as scrap copper. These two things added up to almost 1,000. The moving company workers looked at Grandma Sun with envy. Obviously, they wanted to get these old things back from the employer, but they didn't expect that someone else would ask for it first. In the blink of an eye, 2,000 yuan was in her hands. Grandma Sun really admired Skybolt Pig. With this little guy participating, it wasn't just scavenging, it was simply picking up money. In one morning, Grandma Sun and the other two went to the old goods recycling market and the second-hand phone recycling market 3 times, and got more than 3,000 yuan in one go. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1829. Please remember the domain name, or at Lin Yi's enemies were looking for Lin. Even if Faubert was out in the open, no one would go after him. After all, Peng Zhan was a cripple, and he could die at any moment. No practitioner would go after someone who was about to die. Besides, Peng Zhan didn't have anything left anymore. There was no way a hidden house would do something like this without any benefits or benefits. It was a taboo for Earth-class masters to enter the common world, and attacking normal people was even more so. No one wanted to cross that line. After hanging up, Meng Yao, Yushu, and the old grandma went to a nearby bank and transferred the 100,000 from the old grandma and Jiangwen to Faubert. Li Fu. When the money was transferred, the old lady glanced at the name on the money order and subconsciously read it out in her mind. Yes, it's Faubert's name. Have you heard of him, Grandma? Meng Yao nodded. No. The old grandma shook her head. It's a familiar feeling, but I don't know him, Grandma, so your surname is Sunday. I'll call you Grandma Sun from now on. Meng Yao looked at the name on Grandma Sun's bankbook and found out that her surname was Sunday. I think it's Sun. It's been so long, I don't really remember it. I got this name when I moved here, Grandma Sun said. Meng Yao paused. She realized that Grandma's son always said that it was too long ago and she couldn't remember it. Maybe something happened to Grandma's son, and she forgot about it? Or she didn't want to talk about it. But Mengyao wasn't a meddlesome person, so she didn't ask too much. After transferring the money to Faubert, the three left the bank and began their day of scavenging. The autumn sun was cruel. This was the meaning of the tiger of autumn. Under the hot sun, an old grandma brought two girls through the streets and alleys, searching through every trash can and every corner of the business district. This was a route that the old grandma had walked for many years, and the harvest every day was about the same. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't much either. At the end of the day, 200 to 300 yuan of income was already very good. It was a far cry from the 5,000 yuan that Xiao Shu expected. General Wei Wu, other dogs have sensitive noses. You should help. Meng Yao saw that this wasn't going to work, so she started encouraging General Wei Wu. Woof woof. General Wei Wu was a little troubled. He could teach a dog a lesson, or even a person a lesson, but picking up trash was something he'd never done before. He understood that Meng Yao was doing this for Lin Yi's sake, and so he started learning from Meng Yao and the others, going around the corners. With General Wei Wu's help, they managed to pick up a lot of waste paper and beverage bottles from places that weren't easily discovered. However, these could only increase their income by tens of yuan. It was impossible for them to earn more than 1,000 yuan. The day passed quickly, and Meng Yao and Yushu realized that they only got 500 yuan today when they were counting their spoils. It was only a tenth of the 5,000 they needed. However, it was only 500 yuan, and Grandma's son was already very happy. According to her, on normal days, it was only a few dozen yuan. On holidays, it was no more than 300 yuan. Now that she had 500 yuan, it was already considered a lot. Meng Yao and Yushu were silent. They knew that picking up trash wasn't a profitable business, otherwise, everyone would have gone there already. After brewing Lin Yi's medicine, Lin Yi drank it, and Meng Yao and Shu sat opposite each other, troubled. Their future was bleak and bleak. This was the true portrayal of their current mood. 500 yuan wasn't even enough to buy medicine for Lin Yi, let alone Peng Zhan's medical fees. Why don't we go to Yun Yun's house tomorrow and borrow some money? Meng Yao really didn't have a choice, but she knew that Mrs. Tang had a lot of money. She believed that Mrs. Tang would borrow money to buy medicine for Lin. Yeah, that's the only way. Yushu nodded. However, what they didn't know was that Mrs. Tang had already been taken away by the people from the Snow Valley. First, Tang Yun was worried about her parents who were far away in Songshan, and second, she was afraid that her parents would say something to Lin Yi, making her waste her effort to give Lin Yi the forgetful grass. So, the next day, when Meng Yao and Yushu came to Tang Yun's house, they found that Tang Yun's house was empty. According to the neighbors, there was no one there since a few days ago. At this point, Meng Yao and Yushu could roughly guess Tang Yun's intention, but the problem was that they didn't have Shuegu's contact information. According to Shuegu, after Tang Yun stayed there, it meant that they wouldn't be in contact with each other. Naturally, they wouldn't give them any contact information. Mrs. Tang couldn't be helped, and Yun Yun and Xiao Xiao couldn't be contacted. Meng Yao and Yushu could only rely on Old Lin. But while Old Lin had his own herb garden, and most of the ingredients were there, Peng Zhan's medical fees were still nowhere to be found. Old Lin's herbs were barely enough to sustain Lin Yi's medicine, and Peng Zhan's medical fees were nowhere to be found. Furthermore, the West Star Mountain Village did not have express deliveries, and Old Lin could not leave the West Star Mountain Village. It was a very troublesome matter to send the medicinal herbs to a courier company in a nearby town. By the time the medicinal herbs were sent out, it would be too late. Distant water could not put out a nearby fire. Helpless, Meng Yao and Yushu could only continue to scavenge with Grandma Sunday. But after 2 days of scavenging, Meng Yao and Yushu realized that there were many competitors in this line of work. Other than them, there were also other scavengers, and in this line of work, it was all about eyes and hands. It didn't matter who saw it first, the important thing was who got it first. According to Grandma's son, there were different rules for scavenging in every city, and Songshan was the same. She had been following this rule for many years, so even if her legs weren't nimble before, she had trained her eyes and hands to be quick. And because of this, after she recovered, her scavenging speed was even faster, obviously faster than the other scavengers, and so her daily harvest was not bad. Actually, just relying on these waste paper and bottles every day isn't the most profitable. Grandma Sun said. Sometimes, you can put some in the trash in the residential area, and you can pick up some old furniture and appliances. These are the most profitable. Sometimes, in some rich people's areas, you can find some change in the discarded clothes. It's not much, but sometimes it's at most a few hundred yuan. There was once, in front of a villa, I found 3,000 yuan in a leather jacket, and when I went to the villa to return the money, the villa's housekeeper only said thank you and let me leave. For the latest chapters, please log on. It's a pleasure to read, and I recommend you bookmark it. Chapter 1830. Chapter 1842, Skybolt Pig's Treasure Hunt, Part 1. Meng Yao and Yushu blushed when they heard Grandma Sun's words. They used to throw their old clothes away, and they often forgot to take out the change inside, but they didn't feel bad about throwing them away. Grandma Sun's words seemed to be mocking their old lifestyles. Meng Yao and Yushu knew that Grandma Sun didn't mean it like that, but they couldn't help but think about their old lives. In the past, they thought that they were already very thrifty compared to some rich second generations who lived a luxurious life, but now they found that they were still very extravagant. Of course, if they were the people in the villa that Grandma Sun had mentioned, they might have made the same choice. 3,000 was a small amount to them in the past. If someone kind enough picked it up and gave it back, they would naturally think that the person was a good person and give it to him. But now, that was then and this was now. Of course, these are all things that we can't ask for. Our main source of income is still these waste paper and bottles. Grandma Sun didn't notice the unnatural expression on Meng Yao and Yushu's faces. Oh, let's continue to scavenge. Yushu blushed. Guan Shuemin's house. There were a few people sitting here. They weren't familiar with each other, but they were all related to Guan Shuemin and Lin Yi, so they gathered together. These people were Guan Shuemin, Fatty Lai, Wu Chentian, Sun Jingyi, Lingshan, and Yutian. Lingshan and Yutian told Guan Shuemin and Fatty Lai about Lin Yi's predicament, hoping that they could think of a way to solve it. But Yu Lu was from a hidden house, and none of the people here could go against a hidden house. Man, I wanted to talk to Dean Qin and ask him to waive Pengzhan's medical fees, but Xiang turned me down. Shuemin said with a bitter smile. Guan Xiaoxiang had already fought with Guan Shuemin because of the bankruptcy of Miracle Doctor Guan's medical company. Guan Xiaoxiang reminded Guan Shuemin not to be cheated, but in the end, all of Guan Shuemin's money went into Miracle Doctor Guan's medical company, but it still couldn't save the company from bankruptcy. Once the capital chain of a rapidly developing pharmaceutical company was broken, it would be like a building that would collapse in an instant. There would be no room for recovery. That was why Guan Xiaoxiang took it to heart. When he was young, he wanted to use Shuemin's name to start a pharmaceutical company, but he was never allowed to do so. This time, he was naturally unhappy with those related to Lin. Pengzhan's medical fees were, of course, official business. Not a single cent could be deducted. This time, everyone came to Guan Shuemin's house to discuss Pengzhan's medical fees. After all, when Fatty Lai's company was in crisis, these people basically took out their personal savings. Now, they didn't have any money to take out. Man, if I hadn't sold my company earlier, I wouldn't be in so much trouble right now. Sun Jingyi sighed. House Sun had tacitly agreed to Sun Jingyi's freedom of love, so Sun Jingyi sold her company and returned to House Sunday. Now, Lin Yi was in trouble, and Elder Sun froze Sun Jingyi's account, leaving Sun Jingyi with no money to use. Wu Chentian's old man, Wu Gonggao, was even more snobbish, and Chen Tian became penniless as well. House Song and House Chen, on the other hand, weren't families with much business. Their salaries wouldn't be enough to pay for Pengzhan's medical fees. It's all my fault. If I wasn't in a hurry to expand the factory, I wouldn't have ended up like this. Fatty Lai said, heartbroken. Forget it, this isn't the time to blame. Guan Shuemin sighed. If it comes down to it, I'll put down my pride and talk to Dean Qin. I don't need to deduct the medical fees, but can we postpone it for a while? As long as Lin Yi recovers, everything will be fine. Yeah, when boss recovers, we'll take back what we lost. Fatty Lai nodded. In the blink of an eye, a week had passed. Although they had General Wei Wu's help, the three's daily income was only 500 to 1,000. There weren't many problems, and Lin Yi's medical fees were completely supported by the money that Grandma Sun didn't have time to deposit in the bank. But seeing that the money was dwindling day by day, Meng Yao and Yushu were very worried. If this continued, there would be a day when they wouldn't be able to last until Lin Yi woke up. If it comes down to it, let's get Skybolt Pig to join the operation tomorrow. Skybolt Pig was currently staying with Lin Yi at home every day. Since Skybolt's body was too unique, Meng Yao didn't want to attract people's attention if she brought him out, but there was no other choice now. Skybolt Pig. Yushu suddenly had an idea. Isn't Skybolt Pig able to find treasures? In that case, can it find junk? Yeah. Meng Yao blinked at Yushu's words. How did I forget that? If Skybolt Pig can find treasures, then it should be able to find treasures in trash as well, right? Skybolt Pig, come here. Yushu waved at Skybolt Pig. Skybolt Pig seemed to have heard the conversation between Meng Yao and Yushu and walked over unwillingly. Can you find something valuable in the trash? Don't say no. Yushu said to Skybolt Pig. Skybolt Pig was speechless. What was the point of asking if he couldn't say no? He could only nod his head in grievance. All right, you'll pretend to be a dog tomorrow. I'll give you some furry clothes and you'll help us search for treasures. Yushu said. Disguise as a dog? The Skybolt Pig immediately shook its head. It was different from humans. It was used to not wearing clothes. If it suddenly wore furry clothes, wouldn't it die from the heat? I'm telling you, Shield Bro won't wake up if you don't help with the treasure hunt. No one's going to help you level up in the future. You'll be on your own. Yushu threatened. Skybolt Pig wasn't scared at all. After hearing Yushu's words, he quickly nodded in agreement. Let's pretend to be a dog then. We'll see how you perform tomorrow. Yushu nodded in satisfaction. In actuality, Meng Yao and Yushu didn't have much hope before Skybolt Pig joined the scavenger hunt. Chapter 1831. This little thing had a sharp nose for treasures, but it was hard to say when it came to trash. Please remember, but if Skybolt Pig really did find a treasure, wouldn't he be able to sell it for a lot of money? It was better than nothing. It was always good to try his luck. The next day, Meng Yao, Yushu, and Grandma Sun brought General Wei Wu and Skybolt Pig with them. Grandma Sun already knew the best route every day, so she followed the same route almost every day. But today, after walking for a short while, the Skybolt Pig pointed in a direction with its paw and squeaked. Oh! Meng Yao hesitated, but decided to listen to Skybolt Pig. Grandma Sun, let's go in that direction. Okay. Grandma Sun was puzzled as well. Why would Meng Yao trust this pig? But this pig was obviously different from normal pigs, so Grandma Sun decided to trust it for once. With Skybolt Pig, the three of them and General Wei Wu chased it to a trash can. Skybolt Pig pointed at the trash can with his paw and squeaked again. What are you squeaking for? If there's anything good, go take it out. Yushu yelled at Skybolt Pig. Squeak, squeak. Skybolt Pig looked at the dirty trash can, feeling wronged. He was an ancient spiritual beast. He had never been treated like this before. But he had to save Lin Yi, so he walked towards the trash can unwillingly. Let me do it for you. Grandma Sun didn't mind. Digging through trash was a common thing for her. She didn't have any psychological barriers at all. With that, Grandma Sun began to rummage through the trash can. Soon, she found a few drink bottles and a few waste paper boxes from the trash can. However, these gains could only be regarded as ordinary. You could find something like this in any trash can, and it wasn't worth it to go this far. But the trash can was almost bottom. Grandma Sun had already found all the obvious stuff. There probably wasn't anything valuable left. Let's just look for it step by step in the future. Grandma Sun put the cardboard boxes and bottles on the trolley and was about to leave, but the Skybolt Pig pointed at the trash can and continued to squeak. At first, Yushu was a little annoyed at Skybolt Pig for finding so little stuff in the trash. Just as he was about to reprimand it, he heard that it was still barking. He was taken aback and asked, Skybolt Pig, are you saying that there's something good in there? The Skybolt pig nodded affirmatively. Grandma's son was surprised to see a pig that could understand human language. However, since it said there were more, Grandma's son believed it this time. Once again, she carefully rummaged through the trash can. This time, she was more careful than the last time. Her eyes were no longer focused on the beverage bottles and paper shells. Finally, at the bottom of the bin, Grandma's son found an iPhone. However, on the screen of the iPhone, it was obviously damaged, but Grandma's son tested it and found that the phone could still be turned on. In other words, the owner of the phone might have been injured after the phone screen was damaged. He just threw it away and didn't bother to repair it. Grandma's son picked up junk every day, so naturally she had a lot of experience. It was common for her to pick up broken phones like this. This iPhone only had a broken screen. If the other functions were normal, she could sell it to a second-hand phone shop for at least $1,000. This reward made Grandma's son overjoyed. She didn't expect this little pig to have such abilities. The reward of this broken phone was equivalent to 2 days of her usual income. This broken phone, can you sell it for money? Mengyao looked at the excited Grandma's son strangely. Of course, this iPhone is the latest model. It's just a broken screen. The other functions should be fine. If you sell it to a second-hand shop, you can sell it for at least $1,000. Grandma's son said. Mengyao's face reddened. This was the first time she knew that a broken phone like this could be sold for money. She would throw it away when there was a problem with her phone in the past. She would never think of selling it. Not bad, Skybolt Pig. Yushu looked at Skybolt Pig with praise. Keep it up. If you can earn more money every day, Shield Bro will wake up sooner. I'll ask him to help you level up. But Skybolt Pig heard Yushu's words and nodded happily. After leaving the place, the three didn't return to their previous location. Instead, they started to pick up scraps on the streets. This time, it didn't take long before Skybolt Pig pointed at a direction and barked again. This time, Grandma's son was experienced. She didn't need Mengyao and Yushu to say anything. She pushed the cart and followed Skybolt Pig. She was afraid that if she was late, someone else would get the good stuff first. The Skybolt Pig led the way, and after a few twists and turns, they arrived at another residential area. A family was moving, and beside the moving company's car, there was an old-fashioned refrigerator and some old furniture. Skybolt Pig pointed at the old fridge and the old furniture and barked. "Excuse me, do you not want this thing anymore?" Grandma's son hesitated for a while and walked to the moving car. She asked the person who was obviously the employer. "I don't want it anymore. I bought a new house. This thing is old and not very useful anymore. If you want it, I'll give it to you." The employer waved his hand casually and said to Grandma Sunday. The fridge wasn't very old. It looked like it could still be used. The furniture that was thrown away was a copper bedside table, some angle iron, and wooden boards. This kind of copper bed was not popular anymore. The employer must have gotten rich and bought a new house. These old things that affected the style of the house were definitely not going to be used anymore. "Thank you very much," Grandma's son said and moved the fridge and the copper bedside table to the cart. According to Grandma's son's experience, the fridge could be sold for at least 300 to 500, and the copper bedside table could be sold for a few hundred just by selling it as scrap copper. Adding these two things together, it was almost 1,000. The moving company worker looked at Grandma's son with envy. Obviously, they wanted to get these old things back from the employer, but they didn't expect someone else to ask for it first. In the blink of an eye, 2,000 was in her hands. Grandma's son really admired Skybolt Pig. With this little guy's participation, how was this scavenging? It was simply picking up money. In one morning, Grandma's son and the other two went to the old goods recycling market and the second-hand phone recycling market 3 times. They got more than 3,000 in one go. Chapter 1832. Recovering his senses in the afternoon, Skybolt Pig showed off his prowess. Not only did he find a lot of discarded cell phones and household appliances, he even found a couple of old bags from the Villa district. They were all from international brands, and he brought them to a second-hand shop and sold them for more than 10,000 kwai. His income for the day was close to 20,000 kwai. Grandma's son was shocked, and she couldn't help but admire Skybolt Pig. Mengyao and Yushu let out a breath of relief when they saw that Skybolt Pig was really able to find these valuable items. From now on, as long as they followed Skybolt Pig to pick up these things, they wouldn't have to pick up mineral water bottles, beverage bottles, and cardboard boxes anymore. With Skybolt Pig around, they would always be able to reach the places where the valuable items were thrown away. Although sometimes, other scavengers would get there before them, and they wouldn't be able to find anything, but overall, Skybolt Pig was still very fast. With the help of the ice spirit fruit and medicine, Lin Yi slowly regained consciousness, and he woke up from his coma. However, he only woke up in the jade space, and he still couldn't feel his body. Lin Yi opened his eyes in the jade space, and he felt extremely hot all over his body. Every single meridian in his body felt like it was on fire, and it was very painful. "You're awake?" Xiao Yazi saw that Lin Yi had woken up, and he was surprised and happy at the same time. Xiao Yazi had been panicking all this time. He was just a phantom, and he couldn't do anything about Lin Yi's coma. He couldn't contact the outside world either, and he could only watch Lin Yi pass out every day. Although Xiao Yazi could feel that Lin Yi's body temperature was dropping, he couldn't guarantee that Lin Yi would wake up. It all depended on how the outside world treated Lin. Now that Lin Yi had woken up, he could finally breathe a sigh of relief. "Jiao Lao? What happened to me?" Lin Yi asked in a daze. He remembered that he was cultivating before, and then he didn't know anything. Previously, something went wrong in your cultivation and you went berserk. Don't you remember? Xiao Yazi said. "Oh, chi deviation. Yes." Lin Yi nodded as he recalled the pain he had suffered during his cultivation. However, he did not know why he had suffered chi deviation. "Why did this happen? I'm not sure either. You'll have to find the reason yourself after you wake up," Xiao Yazi said. He could only communicate with the outside world through Lin Yi. Since Lin Yi was unconscious, Xiao Yazi naturally could not hear the conversation between Mo Kongwen and old Lin. "Wake up. How can I wake up?" Lin Yi tried, but unfortunately, he could not return to the real world from the space in the jade pendant. He could not even communicate with the outside world. The people around you must have taken some measures to temporarily suppress the fire poison in your body. However, just relying on them alone is not enough. Xiao Yazi said, "The medicine from the outside world can only help you suppress and slowly refine the fire poison. However, once the fire poison is absorbed by your body, it will affect your body. It will do more harm than good. Therefore, it's best for you to force the fire poison out of your body yourself. This way, you can maintain the purity of the vital qi in your body, and it will be easier for you to cultivate the second stage of the art of dragon mastery." "Force it out of my body?" Lin Yi was slightly stunned. He then asked, "What do I have to do to force the fire poison out of my body?" "You can try to use the art of dragon mastery to guide the vital qi in your body to gather all the fire poison in your meridians. Then, you can release the fire poison in one go like how you released a vital qi bomb," Xiao Yazi said. "Gather it together? Can I find some and force some out?" Lin Yi asked. "That's fine. But can you wake up now? I mean your body in the outside world," Xiao Yazi asked. "I can't." Lin Yi shook his head. "That's it," Xiao Yazi said. "You can't even wake up. How can you release your vital qi? Are you trying to release it into the space in the jade pendant? If you release it here, when you absorb the energy in the space in the jade pendant, you will be in danger of being sucked back at any time." "I see." Lin immediately understood what Xiao Yazi meant. "In other words, I can only wake up when I gather all the fire poison in my meridians, right?" "That's it." Xiao Yazi nodded. "Man, I still have to force the fire poison out of my body. If I was like Zhang Naipeo, I wouldn't have to go through so much trouble." Lin Yi smiled bitterly. At this moment, he was envious of Zhang Naipeo. "As far as I know, he's..." Xiao Yazi's answer surprised Lin Yi. Lin Yi was shocked. "But I can't do it now. But in my memory, you should be able to do it. Maybe you can do it in the future, but I might have remembered wrongly and mixed up the mantra in the chrysanthemum treasured book." Xiao Yazi shook his head. "My memory isn't unlocked. I only have a vague impression." "All right, Lin Yi heard Jiao Yazi's words and felt disappointed. Even if he could, now wasn't the time, and there was a chance that Elder Jiao might have remembered wrongly, messing up Nai Peo's memories of the chrysanthemum arts. Right now, he needed to use the art of dragon mastery to guide the fire poison in his meridians, compressing it together and forcing it out of his body. Calming himself down, Lin Yi focused all his energy and channeled the first stage of the art of dragon mastery. He started searching for the fire poison in his meridians. Lin Yi had the experience of repairing his own meridians multiple times before, so he was very familiar with the meridians in his body. He channeled the art of dragon mastery with ease, letting the pure energy flow through his meridians, searching for the fire poison in them. Of course, at the start, Lin Yi didn't focus on the parts of his body that were affected by the fire poison. Instead, he focused on his hands and feet, where there were fewer meridians. With fewer meridians, the fire poison would be less. Even if something went wrong, it wouldn't cause too much damage. Lin Yi carefully channeled the qi through his right arm and finally found the fire poison in his meridians. Strictly speaking, this fire poison was a mutated fire qi. It was mutated from Lin Yi's universal qi, but Lin Yi's art of dragon mastery was like a one-way converter. He could convert his universal qi into other kinds of qi, but he couldn't convert other kinds of qi into his own universal qi. Chapter 1833. A delightful discovery. This was the exact opposite of Nai Peo. This was also why Lin Yi envied Nai Peo. But looking at it from a different point, Nai Peo could convert other people's qi into his own, and that meant that his qi wouldn't have any healing abilities. Lin Yi still had an advantage in this aspect. This mutated fire poison qi filled every corner of Lin Yi's arm. They weren't connected, but were spread out. Perhaps it was because of the suppression from the outside world. They were temporarily suppressed by the qi in his body. Without the suppression from the outside world, they would probably have the upper hand. Lin Yi carefully used his own qi to surround the fire poison qi, thinking of a way to gather it all together. Only by gathering it together and suppressing it would Lin Yi wake up and force it out of his body. But while it sounded easy, it was extremely difficult to do. When Lin Yi's qi came into contact with the fire poison qi, the originally peaceful fire poison qi became restless again. Lin Yi suddenly felt an incomparably hot aura coming from the fire poison qi, making his entire body shiver. This fire poison qi was terrifying. It was just a moment, but it was enough to make people feel intimidated, not wanting to go near it at all. As expected, going mad was the biggest obstacle in the path of martial arts. Since the ancient times, there had been many geniuses who had been ruined by going mad, either going mad for the rest of their lives, or exploding and dying. Even with Lin Yi's strong willpower, when he first came into contact with the fire poison qi, he had the urge to give up immediately. But Lin Yi took a deep breath, gritted his teeth, and persevered. He quickly channeled the first stage of the art of dragon mastery, using his qi to force the fire poison qi to his right hand. Lin Yi was prepared to force all the fire poison qi in his body to his right hand, and then force it out at the same time. But in the next moment, Lin Yi realized that while his thoughts were perfect, the fire poison qi didn't seem to listen to the art of dragon mastery at all. It even seemed to be resisting it. This shocked Lin Yi. How could this fire poison qi be so strong? After half an hour of struggle, Lin Yi finally couldn't hold it in any longer and gave up. This was because he realized that no matter how hard he tried, the fire poison qi didn't listen to his command and didn't move at all. You tell me to go east, I won't go west, but I won't go east either. I'll stay where I am. What can you do to me? Although it was only half an hour, Lin Yi was already sweating profusely. He felt that the strength he used to fight the fire poison qi for half an hour was more difficult than breaking through to the next level. Jiao Lao, I can't do it anymore. The fire poison qi doesn't listen to me at all. I can't force them together. Lin Yi smiled bitterly and said to Jiao Lao, "That's right, if it listened to you, then it would be strange." Jiao Yazi listened to Lin Yi's words, but nodded as if it was a matter of course. Huh. Lin Yi's eyes widened and he said in surprise, "What do you mean? Isn't this what you want me to do?" "I did ask you to do this. But when did I say that you should use the first stage of the art of dragon mastery to drive away the fire poison qi? Xiao Yazi asked. If I don't use the first stage, then use the second stage? Lin Yi retorted confidently. It's because I trained in the second stage that I went crazy. Wouldn't I be looking for death if I still used the second stage? Didn't you already lose control? Furthermore, the people in the outside world must have given you the antidote to suppress your qi deviation. You have already passed the second stage of body tempering and the early stage of foundation establishment. You won't suffer qi deviation anymore. At least, you won't suffer qi deviation for the same reason. Jiao Yazi explained, this fire poison qi is caused by the qi deviation when you cultivated the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. You want to use the first stage of the art of dragon mastery to drive it away? It's impossible even if you think about it. Lin Yi wiped the sweat off his forehead, a little embarrassed. Indeed, he didn't think of this before. The fire poison was caused by the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. Why would it be afraid of the first stage of the art of dragon mastery? No wonder it wasn't afraid, and even had a faint intention to resist. He used the wrong method. Then, why didn't you remind me before, or stop me from doing useless things? Lin Yi said sadly, wasting half an hour of effort. When you were cultivating, I didn't dare to disturb you. I was afraid that if I reminded you, you would lose control again, and the loss would outweigh the gain, Xiao Yazi said seriously. Lin Yi was speechless. In the past when he was cultivating normally, Xiao Yazi often talked to him, but now he was afraid. However, Lin Yi also understood that he had lost control, and it had traumatized Xiao Yazi, so he was afraid that something would go wrong in other aspects. After resting for a while, Lin Yi started cultivating the art of dragon mastery again, but this time, he was cultivating the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. Because he wasn't very familiar with it, Lin Yi was carefully exploring and cultivating. Before he was familiar with the art of dragon mastery, Lin Yi tried his best not to touch the fire poison qi. As for the fire poison qi, Lin Yi didn't touch them, so they naturally didn't care what Lin Yi was doing. About a day later, Lin Yi had completely mastered the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. It couldn't be said to be a small achievement, but at least he could use it freely. And Lin Yi didn't plan to make any progress in cultivation before the fire poison was expelled. Slowly, Lin Yi began to try to use the second stage of the art of dragon mastery to guide the qi in his body to wrap around the fire poison qi. And at this moment, something happened that shocked Lin. The fire poison that had been so arrogant, after encountering the pure energy of the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, became fearful and fearful. It was no longer as arrogant as before. Feeling this scene, Lin Yi was immediately overjoyed, but also a little embarrassed. If he had done this earlier, the previous half an hour of effort would not have been wasted. The fire poison qi, under the guidance of the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, was wrapped by Lin Yi's qi. Although it was a little reluctant, it still moved slowly. This change made Lin even more happy. Although the fire poison moved very slowly, it was a good thing that it could move. It seemed that although the fire poison was a mutation of the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, it was still unable to resist the real second stage of the qi. Chapter 1834. Once again finally, the small ball of fire poison qi was sent to the end of Lin Yi's right palm, and Lin Yi started moving the second ball of fire poison qi. With the experience from before, he was much more familiar with the process. Soon, the second ball of fire poison qi was sent to the end of Lin Yi's right palm as well, merging with the first ball of fire poison qi, forming an even bigger ball of fire poison qi. As long as he had the perseverance, he'd be able to gather all the fire poison qi in his body. Yu Lu returned to the hidden house. Xiaochen didn't blame him, but it was still a pity that he'd lost such a great opportunity. After that, Xiaochen went to see the old ancestor of House Yu once more, telling him everything that had happened. It's regretful, but you did the right thing. Old ancestor Yu nodded and said seriously, if Yu Lu was really hurt, then our House Yu wouldn't be able to get away with this either. Xiaochen nodded, but giving up on the search for Lin Yi just like that? Isn't that a bit of a waste? Of course it's a waste to give up, but with just our hidden House Yu's strength, finding someone who has the heart to hide in Songshan is extremely difficult. Old ancestor, you said, especially with Lingshan and Qin Yutian in the middle, it'll be even more troublesome. But Lin Yi's enemies aren't just our House Yu only, there's the hidden House Zhao and the hidden House Yu. We'll pull them in to look for Lin, that'll be much easier. Then the qi gathering pill. Xiaochen was worried that the pill would fall into someone else's hands. Naturally, we won't tell them about the pill, and when we make our move, we can make an agreement that all 3 houses will send practitioners to cause trouble for Lin. That way, all 3 of us will have less responsibility, and I'm sure they'll be more than happy to work with us. Old ancestor, you said. All right, we'll do as you say, father. Xiaochen nodded. Don't look at how the Yu family failed to contact the Great Elder. Which one of these hidden families wasn't a smart person? Even though the threat of the first elder and that person should be gone, these people were still waiting to see what would happen. Yu Lu went out for a stroll and didn't attract any trouble, so they couldn't wait to go out and take a look themselves. Coincidentally, there was a message from House Yu, asking them to search for Lin Yi together. Naturally, they agreed. Thus, the hidden house of Yu and the hidden house of Zhao all came to Songshan City and began to inquire about Lin Yi's whereabouts in the Sea of People. Of course, all of this was done in secret. After all, Lingshan was the captain of the criminal investigation team, and if they did it openly, Lingshan would definitely know about it. If Lingshan was in contact with Lin Yi, then she'd notify Lin Yi and the others immediately, making them even more vigilant. Finding Lin Yi's traces would be even harder. It was a difficult period of time. Meng Yao and Yushu worked hard every day, but they were happy. Although they were tired to the point that their bodies ached, they were happy. Whenever they found an old phone or an old appliance, they'd be filled with energy, and they'd move on to the next target. The Skybolt pig's cry became their motivation. However, even though it was hard work, not only did they save enough money for Lin Yi's medical expenses, but they also had money for Pengzhan's medical expenses. Meng Yao would send Faubert 10 to 20,000 yuan every 2 to 3 days. Even Li Fu was speechless at how fast they were earning money. If he didn't know what kind of people Meng Yao and Yushu were, he would have thought that they'd gone into some shady business. After all, these 2 girls had to pay for Lin Yi's medical bills and still save 5,000 to 10,000 kuai a day. What did they have to do to earn that much? It would be fine if they were white-collar workers in big companies, but they didn't have any social experience, and they didn't have a university degree. Which company could they go to get such a salary? But since Meng Yao and Yushu didn't say anything, Faubert didn't ask. He knew that Yushu and Yao Yao weren't frivolous people. Today's income is almost 20,000 yuan. Meng Yao couldn't stop smiling. In the past, she wouldn't even feel anything when she earned 20,000 yuan. After all, Pengzhan Industries made a lot of money every day. 20,000 yuan wasn't much. But now, she was jumping with joy because of this 20,000 yuan. This was the life-saving money for Lin Yi and her father. Yeah, I'm so happy. Skybolt Pig, you're amazing. I'll ask Shield Bro to be the first to level up and let you level up before General Weiwu. Yushu wouldn't be stingy with her promise since it didn't cost her any money. But just this alone was enough to make Skybolt Pig happy. General Weiwu, on the other hand, was a little depressed. He was the big brother, and Meng Yao was the second brother, but the big brother leveled up slower than the second brother. Oink oink. Skybolt Pig looked at General Weiwu proudly. As if he was showing off, he shook his little body in front of General Weiwu. Next, Lin Yi gathered the fire poison in his heart and head into his right palm. He realized that his long-lost connection with the outside world was restored. Although he couldn't wake up yet, he could clearly feel what was happening outside his body. Lin Yi wasn't surprised. Lin Yi used his heart and head to connect with the outside world. Now that the fire poison in these 2 parts was gone, his connection with the outside world was restored. He was in an unfamiliar room. The decorations in the room were old and broken. One could even say that there were no decorations at all. He was lying on an old iron folding bed. Beside his bed was an old table with some clothes and female products. Lin Yi could tell that these belonged to Meng Yao and Yushu. Beside the foldable bed was a mattress. The so-called mattress was a mattress and quilt placed on the ground, allowing people to sleep on the ground. This must be where Meng Yao and Yushu slept. Lin Yi didn't understand why he was sleeping in such an old place. Although the place was clean and spotless, it was still too old. It couldn't even compare to West Star Village. Lin Yi couldn't find a place like this in his memory. Not long after, just when Lin Yi was confused, footsteps came from outside the room. Meng Yao and Yushu's happy voices were heard. Chapter 1835. Touched, Yao Yao sis, I didn't think that the old laptop could be sold for more than 2,000 just because the hard disk was broken. Yushu said excitedly, I thought it would only be a few hundred, but today we broke the 20,000 mark. Yeah, but thanks to Grandma-san's connections, we wouldn't be able to understand why those second-hand electronics merchants would lie to us. Meng Yao was happy as well. Today's income was more than what they had expected. Lin Yi listened to the two and couldn't help but feel strange. What laptop sold for more than 2,000? Who was Grandma-san? Meng Yao and Yushu entered the room and the first thing they did was to check on Lin Yi's condition. After making sure that Lin Yi was fine, they nodded in relief. Shu, I'll go brew the medicine, you take a shower first, Meng Yao said. Okay. Every day they go out to pick up scraps, both of them are dirty. This is something that Xiao Shu and Yao Yao who love to be clean, how can they stand it? Luckily, Grandma's son had an old-fashioned water heater so they could take a shower every night before going to bed. Of course, they would still be dirty after putting on the dirty clothes the next day, but at least they could sleep comfortably at night. Because of the smell of medicine, Yushu would take a shower first and Meng Yao would take a shower after brewing the medicine. This way, the two of them could share the hot water. Otherwise, the water heater wouldn't be able to supply enough hot water for both of them at once. Lin Yi saw how dirty they were and felt that it was strange. What were they doing? However, Lin Yi could only sense what was going on in the outside world. He couldn't ask with a clear mind, so he could only bury the question in his heart. However, what Lin Yi didn't expect was that Yushu started taking off her clothes not long after Meng Yao left the room. In a blink of an eye, she was naked. Lin Yi felt like his blood was about to explode. Although he had seen Shu naked before, Lin Yi realized that he could see things more clearly with his senses. Previously, he only had a cursory glance, but now, he could see everything clearly. Shield bro, after Shu showers, I'll help you wipe your body. You haven't showered in a while too. Yushu didn't know that Lin Yi could sense her as she walked up to Lin Yi. Suddenly, Lin Yi felt like he couldn't stand it anymore. His body was burning hot because of Shu. The fire poison that was originally under control started to get restless again. This situation shocked Lin. He quickly cut off his connection with the outside world. Although Xiao Shu was beautiful, if he looked at her any longer, he would be even more obsessed. Lin Yi didn't dare to look at her anymore. Pho! Lin Yi calmed himself down and quickly gathered his thoughts. Lust was like a knife to his head. He almost went crazy again because of this. This made Lin Yi very scared. What's wrong? Jiao Yazi looked at Lin Yi strangely. He didn't know why he was so short of breath. Nothing. Lin Yi was too embarrassed to say what he saw. He smiled bitterly and continued to push the fire poison into the meridians of his right hand. After a while, Lin Yi realized that his body in the outside world seemed to have been lifted up by someone. Curious, Lin Yi stopped expelling the poison and used his senses to sense what was going on in the outside world. He realized that Meng Yao was slowly helping him up, feeding him a bowl of medicine that she'd brewed. Lin Yi had no idea what the medicine tasted like and whether it was hot or not. He was only using his senses to communicate with the outside world. If he could smell the medicine, it meant that he was about to wake up. But Lin Yi was puzzled. What was this place? School is about to start and Lin Yi hasn't woken up yet. We can't go and register. Meng Yao smiled bitterly. I hope Lin Yi will wake up soon. Yeah, otherwise we'll have to rely on scavenging for a living. Although we have Skybolt Pig, we can find good stuff every day. Yushu nodded. It's been a tough but fulfilling life. Shu, we can finally do something for Lin Yi, Meng Yao sighed. Yes, these days have made me understand how difficult it was for Uncle Chu to make money in the past. Little Shu nodded. But when Shield Bro recovers, everything will be fine. We can live like a Missy again. Meng Yao was speechless. The more Lin Yi listened to their conversation, the stranger he felt. But he couldn't ask them directly. He could only judge from their conversation that these two seemed to be living a hard life. They relied on scavenging for a living, and the strangest thing was that they were using skybolt pigs to scavenge for scraps. No wonder they could pick up 20,000 yuan worth of junk a day. How could an ordinary person pick up so much? It was an astronomical figure. But for the skybolt pig who had the ability to find treasures, it was really nothing. He could even find treasures, let alone these valuable old things. The two chatted for a while and Meng Yao went to take a shower. Lin Yi quickly cut off the connection with the outside world. He just saw Shu, and if he saw the miss again, he'd go crazy. After a while, Meng Yao finished her shower and came back with a basin of water. Together with Shu, she wiped Lin Yi's face and hands. As for the other parts of his body, they didn't touch them. Shu was embarrassed, but the miss didn't. The days passed by peacefully, and Lin Yi slowly got rid of the fire poison in the other meridians besides his head and heart. The effects were very obvious, and Lin Yi believed that it wouldn't be long before he woke up if he kept working hard like this. In this period of time, Lin Yi also understood one thing: why Meng Yao and Yu Shu were here. Through their intermittent conversation, Lin Yi understood that Peng Zhan and Fatty Lai were both bankrupt. Not only did they lose their source of income, but there was also House Yu's sixth Yu who wanted to kill him. So, they could only live in Grandma Sun's house every day and scavenge for a living. Luckily, no one would pay attention to these girls who scavenge for scraps, and Yu Lu and the others wouldn't even think that the former miss would do such a thing. Meng Yao and Yu Shu's attentive care touched Lin immensely. He didn't think that the misses would be willing to put in so much effort. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1836. Ice Palace and Snowy Valley Ice Palace. The Ice Palace didn't have a channel like the Dark Shadow Group, and their friendship with the Hidden House Tang was broken, but the fact that Lin Yi had gone mad was something that all the hidden houses knew about, and it still reached Bing Tong's ears. Ice Palace Master, do you think we should help? Little Qing told Rock Candy immediately after receiving the news. Help? Help with what? Bing Tang humphed, don't tell Xiao Xiao about this. Then, what if Lin Yi gets into danger? Qing paused. Danger? If he can't even deal with this, then he doesn't deserve Xiao Xiao. It's better if he dies, he won't be a burden to Xiao Xiao in the future. Bing Tang rejected Qing's suggestion. Actually, there was something she didn't say, and was too embarrassed to say it. If Lin Yi was this weak, how could he want her to be his little wife? Bing Tang held a grudge against Lin Yi for teasing her back then. She was a heaven-class late-phase peak master, the head of an ancient sect. She was actually teased by an Earth-class early-phase master, and he even threatened to make her his little wife. Therefore, Bing Tang was very vengeful. If you're so strong, then you should face it yourself. Qing shook her head and didn't say anything else. After all, Bing Tang was the head of the Ice Palace, and Xiao Xiao hadn't become an inheritor yet. Snowy Valley. The Grand Elder finally realized that something was wrong. Although Tang Yun tried her best to hide that she'd forgotten about Lin Yi, how strong was the Grand Elder? Tang Yun was just an inheritor who had just received the inheritance. She didn't have the slightest bit of strength. It could only be said that the current Tang Yun wouldn't have to face any obstacles on her path of training. The bottleneck that other people faced during training was no longer a problem for Tang Yun. Receiving the inheritance meant that she had the body of a Sky-class late-phase peak. She could take another step forward, and so Tang Yun only needed to train step by step, and she would be able to reach Sky-class late-phase peak. Of course, Tang Yun was still too naive in the Grand Elder's eyes. It didn't take long for the Grand Elder to notice her weakness. You didn't use the forgetfulness herb? The Grand Elder's heart skipped a beat as he looked at Tang Yun, shocked and angry. I didn't. Tang Yun shook her head. She didn't want to hide it anymore. The Grand Elder looked at Tang Yun with grief and indignation, but he didn't know what to say. Lin Yi had already left. Even if he could make another bottle of forgetfulness grass, it wouldn't have any effect on Tang Yun without Lin Yi's blood. So even if the Grand Elder was angry, there was nothing he could do to remedy the situation. Sigh. After the grief and indignation, the Grand Elder couldn't help but let out a long sigh and said, "You gave Lin Yi the medicinal liquid of the senseless grass?" Yes, I want him to forget me. I don't want him to see my heartless face. It'll be very painful for him, Tang Yun nodded and said firmly. Why didn't you say so earlier? If you want, I will prepare another portion of the forgotten love grass medicinal liquid for you. The Grand Elder helplessly shook his head and said, No, I won't drink it. I want to remember him forever. I want to remember the days we spent together. This will be the most precious memory in my life. I don't want to forget it. Tang Yun shook her head and said, These days will never come again. I will keep it in my heart forever. No one can take it away. Tang Yun said firmly. The Grand Elder couldn't help but be moved. She had already experienced how strong this seemingly weak girl's character was. She was able to kneel in the snow for 15 days, and she did it with the thought of dying. This tenacity was not something others could compare with. So, the Grand Elder knew that she didn't need to persuade her. Tang Yun had already made up her mind. There was no point in persuading her. Moreover, now that there was no danger of Lin Yi going crazy, the Grand Elder and the others were begging Tang Yun. If Tang Yun gave up and stopped practicing, then it would be too late for the Grand Elder to cry. But you have to know that if you have feelings in your heart, the path of practicing the Heartless spell will be full of obstacles and thorns. You might even lose your mind. It is extremely difficult. The Great Supreme Elder sighed. It is for your own good that I let you consume the Heartless herb's medicinal liquid. I know, but I appreciate Senior's kindness. I think I should be able to control the demon in my heart. Tang Yun said, After all, the inheritor's path of practice will be smooth. Moreover, didn't the founder of the sect not use the forgetfulness herb to reach the great Tao? The Grand Elder couldn't help but smile bitterly. She waved her hand and said, Forget it. You have the hidden ice heart jade bone physique. Just like the founder of the sect, you can't be judged by common sense. Let's not mention this in the future. Thank you, Senior. Tang Yun was overjoyed. As long as the Grand Elder didn't force her to forget Lin Yi, it would be fine. As for the way Tang Yun addressed the Grand Elder, she called her Senior instead of Master. After all, although the Grand Elder taught Tang Yun the Heartless arts, it was nominally a disciple on behalf of the founder. Tang Yun's future position would also be the Grand Elder, an existence that was on par with the Grand Elder like Sydney. So, she really didn't dare to call her Master. She could only replace it with Senior. Once Tang Yun advanced to the peak of the late phase of Heaven class, they would be the same generation. Your parents have already gone to the Snow Valley. They have just settled down. You can go and see them when you have time to practice. The Grand Elder said. What? Mom is already here? Tang Yun was even happier after hearing that. Yes, they are currently resting in the guest room. I have already arranged a separate courtyard for them. Once the cleaning is done, they can move in, the Grand Elder said. The Great Elder said, Your birth mother and adoptive mother's physique is also very special. They belong to the normal ice physique. Although they are married women, if they are trained with the unique ice element mental cultivation method of the Snowy Valley, they will definitely reach the mystic class in their lifetime. Their lifespan will also be greatly extended. Thank you, Grand Elder. Tang Yun heard this news and was surprised and happy. After thanking the Grand Elder, she quickly ran towards the guest room. Looking at her disappearing figure, the Grand Elder sighed helplessly. She muttered to herself, Ice Heart Jade Bones, the Heartless arts is to cultivate the heart. She is so concerned about family and love, how can she be heartless? However, Tang Yun was the only hope of the Snow Valley. Although the Grand Elder was unhappy, she couldn't interfere with Tang Yun's cultivation. Otherwise, if Tang Yun stopped practicing, there would be nothing she could do. Target equals Chapter 1837. True Identity West Star Village. Mo Kongwen bid farewell to Old Lin and prepared to return. Although Old Man Lin tried his best to persuade Mo Kongwen to stay for a few more days and had a few drinks with Old Man Lin, he still had to leave. He had completed his mission this time and successfully helped Lin Yi overcome the calamity. Therefore, it was time for him to go back and continue his secluded cultivation to break through that barrier. Old friend, I have to go now. Take care. Mo Kongwen smiled at old Lin, who was standing at the entrance of the village. This time, Lil, he will have to rely on himself. Old Lin sighed. I don't know what those two are thinking, asking you to protect Lil. Although it's not exactly smooth sailing, at least there won't be so many hidden houses looking for trouble with him anymore. Mo Kongwen could only smile bitterly when he heard Old Man Lin's words. Only Old Man Lin, who had been through life and death with them, would dare to call those two fellas master, and he both had their own considerations. You should know that if iron isn't tempered, it won't become steel. If jade isn't carved, it won't become a tool. Mo Kongwen continued, moreover, before he reaches that level, I can only fight him a few times a year. If I do it more than twice, I won't be able to explain it to my master. Moreover, some forces are out of our control. 13 years have passed. You and I haven't had many breakthroughs because of our innate talents. However, the ancient sects and hidden families are producing many talents. Especially the hidden families, there have been a few heaven-ranked masters appearing in recent years. This worries me. That's right, your worries are exactly what I'm worried about. The hidden aristocratic families are slowly getting out of control, but this is inevitable. Those two fellows aren't here anymore, and with just us two brothers, we won't be able to intimidate those heaven-ranked experts. Especially me. I can't leave yet? Old Lin smiled bitterly. Master must have his reasons for making this arrangement. Mo Kongwen sighed. Actually, even he couldn't predict Lin Yi's fate. It was just like what was written in the ancient records. Once an ancient scroll was obtained, the person's fate would change. The more exquisite the ancient scroll, the more unpredictable the person's fate would be. Mo Kongwen didn't believe it before, but the first time he predicted that Lin Yi was in trouble, he failed. At that time, Lin Yi had already become a mystic-ranked master, which surprised Mo Kongwen. From then on, Mo Kongwen couldn't predict Lin Yi's fate accurately. So, he decided not to predict it anymore. After saying goodbye, Mo Kongwen disappeared in the blink of an eye. Old Lin didn't find it strange at all. He just turned around and walked back. When Mo Kongwen returned to his place, his face changed slightly when he saw the communicator in the house. Mo Kongwen did not dare to be negligent. He sat cross-legged on an 8 trigrams diagram and began to calculate. After a while, Mo Kongwen opened his eyes. The result of the calculation made him shudder with fear. Mo Kongwen dialed Old Lin's number again. The last time they contacted each other in the West Star Mountain Village was the first time they contacted each other using the communicator. However, this time, they contacted each other directly through the phone. Old friend, have you returned to your place? Old Lin. Old friend Lin, there's a problem. Mo Kongwen said solemnly. Problem? What problem? Old Lin was startled and asked. The hidden families might be stirring up trouble. Mo Kongwen said. Hidden families? How can they stir up trouble? As long as the Earth class doesn't come out, with Little Yi's skills and his friends, no one will be able to touch him. Old Lin said, confused. But what if those hidden families don't want to abide by the agreement? Mo Kongwen sighed. After all, he and the master have been gone for so many years. The hidden families arbitration association's control over the hidden families is getting weaker and weaker. Plus, I've been in isolation to break through that barrier. I don't believe that they won't be restless. Plus, I just did a divination. The hidden family's power structure is about to change. What? But this time, Old Lin was shocked. You're saying that the masters above the Earth class are about to come out? After enduring for so many years, anyone would be tempted. Mo Kongwen said. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have let Little E go back no matter what. If he stayed by your side to recover, even if they send Sky-class masters, they won't be able to come back. But I'm worried about Little E right now. Old Lin said hurriedly. I didn't think that the hidden families would use this method to test me. Mo Kongwen said and told Old Lin about the communicator. Yes, Mo Kongwen was the Grand Elder of the Hidden Families Arbitration Association. However, because of what happened all those years ago, the founder of the association left and he went into isolation to break through that final barrier. He wanted to reach the peak of his power before the opening of Sky Island, enter the heavenly path, and find his master. So, according to the promise he made to his master, he could only come out to help when Lin Yi was in irreversible danger. However, there was a clear rule: he couldn't come out more than twice a year. This was a restriction for him and also for Lin Yi. If he always thought about having a backer, then he would not think about making progress and develop a lazy character. If he exceeded this limit, then what awaited Mo Kongwen would be the most severe punishment. Mo Kongwen regretted wasting his first chance this year, and now his second chance had been used up as well. In other words, no matter what danger there was, he couldn't come out anymore. Looks like these people planned this. Old Lin couldn't help but feel angry. If little E didn't leave, those ancient sects would have to give him face. Now, these new hidden houses are shaking their heads. Old friend Lin, call the people around little E and tell them to hide and avoid this. Don't give them a chance. Mo Kongwen said. But they might not target little E. This was also because Mo Kongwen didn't know about Yu Huixing and the Qi-gathering pill, or that Zhao Qibing had become the heir of House Zhao. If he knew, he wouldn't have said this. Chapter 1838. However, these two things were kept secret between House Yu and House Zhao. Only the core members of House Yu and House Zhao knew about it, let alone Mo Kongwen. Okay, I'll contact them right away. Old Lin said. After ending the call with Mo Kongwen, Old Lin dialed Mingyao's number right away, but her phone was turned off. He called Yushu again, but her phone was turned off as well. Lin Yi's phone was still turned off. This situation shocked Old Lin, but even if he was anxious, there was nothing he could do from 1,000 miles away. After many unsuccessful attempts, Old Lin had no choice but to call Mo Kongwen again. Old friend, how is it? Mo Kongwen was anxious as well. I can't contact them. Old Lin sighed. Maybe they're in trouble and are hiding. Sigh. Perhaps everything has its own destiny. Xiao Yi is already an Earth-ranked master now. Now that he's facing some Earth-ranked opponents, it's also a form of training for him. Without adversity, how can he grow? Mo Kongwen hesitated for a moment before he said, back then, master and him? Wasn't it the same? Let's hope so. Old Lin nodded. Songsun. Meng Yao, Yushu, and Grandma Sun were a group of scavengers, and although they kept a low profile, they still attracted the attention of other scavengers. After all, they picked up tens of thousands of yuan worth of old stuff in a day, and even if they tried to cover it up, there was no such thing as an impenetrable wall in this world, especially when they were selling their old appliances and electronic products at the same place. There was bound to be a time when they would bump into each other. So, after knowing their income, many scavengers were envious. Many of the scavengers showed envy and jealousy in their eyes. If it weren't for Grandma Sun being a veteran in this industry, she had been scavenging for more than 10 years. She had absolute prestige, and who knew what kind of people would push them aside. However, Grandma Sun was a veteran, and although many people were envious, they couldn't do anything about it. But there was nothing they could do. Grandma Sun and the others could only become the topic of conversation after a meal. This phenomenon. Meng Yao and Yushu were very worried. People were afraid of being famous, and pigs were afraid of being fat. Meng Yao, on the other hand, didn't care. She wouldn't even care if they took a photo of her as the most beautiful scavenger girl, but now, for Lin Yi, her identity couldn't be exposed. So, Meng Yao and Yushu could only pray in their hearts that Lin Yi would wake up soon. So, they could only end their scavenging days. Fortunately, scavenging was a relatively small industry. Their contact with the outside world was relatively small. The three of them were only known in the scavenger industry and did not attract the attention of others. Zhao and House Yu had come to Songshan together, but they didn't have much interest in Lin Yi's death. Yes. Lin and Yu, House Yu yes and Zhao. You and Zhao and Yu, Zhao, Yu San and yes, Had and Yen Yu Chen and all. Chen and Yu and Zhao and Shan, Zhao, Yu and Lin Tu Lin. Although Lin Yi offended Yu Panhu, House Yu and Lin didn't have a deep grudge. House Kong, on the other hand, had a deep grudge with Lin Yi, so Yushur San came this time to act according to the situation. Before he left, Yu Zhentian had already made it clear that if he could find Lin Yi, And if the hidden House Yu and House Zhao took action, then there was no harm in Yu Shisan joining in the fun. After all, he would be returning a favor to House Kong. If he killed Lin Yi, House Kong would be very grateful to the hidden House Yu and would work even harder to help the hidden House Yu earn more money. But if the other two houses didn't make a move, House Yu wouldn't be the first bird to stick out. House Yu, on the other hand, was different. After House Yu joined forces with House Zhao and House Yu, Yu Lu came to Songshan again. He was determined to get Lin. Putting aside the fact that Lin Yi had destroyed the common House Yu, Lin Yi stealing the qi-gathering pill was enough for House Yu to make a move. As for House Zhao, they made a move this time because of the grudge between Zhao Qibing and Lin Yi. They were actually cooperating with House Yu to test the waters. In fact, this was also because Hidden House Zhao always felt that they owed Hidden House Yu, so when Hidden House Yu called, they went with the flow. As for Lin Yi, Elder Bai and Zhao Qibing naturally hated him. They wanted to get rid of him as soon as possible, so House Zhao sent an Earth class, and a very high-level one at that. Zhao Guanger was the second-generation disciple of House Zhao, the same generation as the young master Zhao Guangyin. He was currently in Earth class late stage. The reason why they sent Zhao Guanger out was because they wanted to kill Lin Yi once and for all, not giving him a chance to turn the situation around. But, in the meeting of House Zhao, Zhao Qikuan had a different opinion. He didn't agree with sending a master to deal with Lin Yi. Elder Bai, that Lin Yi is so young and he's already in Earth class early stage. The power behind him must be very strong, and we, House Zhao, don't need to get involved in this mess. Let the hidden House Yu and House Yu do it, or we can just send a random Earth class early stage. Zhao Qikuan said, Earth class late stage. House Zhao's strength is limited. We don't have enough masters of that level. What if something happens? Power behind him? Zhao Qibing smiled coldly. Why would he hide if he had a power behind him? Have you ever seen a disciple of an ancient sect go into hiding after going berserk? Under Yu Lu's pursuit, no one came out to support him? You call this having a background? Zhao Qikuan only wanted to stop House Zhao from doing this, but Zhao Qibing's words made sense. Alright, it's decided. I've already asked the head of the house, and it's decided. Elder Bai waved his hand. If Lin Yi isn't killed, Qibing's business in Songshan will be affected as well. That's for House Zhao's money-making. Zhao Qikuan, you don't have to interfere. Elder Bai's decisiveness was also because of old Zhao's support. House Yu and House Zhao were in-laws, so naturally, House Zhao knew that House Yu had lost a qi-gathering pill and that Yu Huixing had blamed it on Lin. And so, old Zhao wanted to use this chance to get rid of Lin Yi. That was the only way he could be at ease forever, knowing that the matter of him stealing the pill wouldn't be exposed. So, even without Zhao Qibing as a reason, Elder Zhao would still send the masters of the house to kill Lin Yi once and for all. This was also why House Zhao sent such a master. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1839. Yes. Qikuan felt sorrowful. He didn't know what was so good about this Qibing that Elder Bai was so fond of him, supporting him like this. He tried his best, but his position in the house were far from Qibing's. He was able to attend the meeting because he'd passed the Ice Palace test and sent Qijio to the Ice Palace for training. That was why House Zhao had a higher opinion of him. But it wasn't possible for him to have a say in the family right now. On this day, Meng Yao and Yushu went to the old goods market with Grandma's son in the evening to sell the things they'd picked up during the day, only to be spotted by two familiar faces. Of course, they weren't very familiar with each other, but they'd met a couple of times. They were Boss Zhu and Chen. They'd seen them at the beach, and then at the mountain behind the resort. But Boss Zhu and Chen were on the other side of the market, and Meng Yao, Yushu, and Grandma's son were happily counting their money. They didn't notice that two familiar faces were looking at them in shock. Grandpa Zhu, aren't those two sisters Lin Yi Bro's rich friends? Why are they out here to scavenge? Chen looked at Meng Yao and Yushu curiously. Boss Zhu's eyes flashed with excitement as he said calmly, a lot of rich kids go out to experience life during the summer, maybe they're experiencing life. So that's how it is. Then should we go and say hello? Chen nodded in realization. No need, you don't know them well, right? Lin Yi isn't here. Boss Zhu said. You're right, I don't know them well, and Xiao sis isn't here. Chen she gave up on the idea. You go back first today. Grandpa Zhu has something to do today, so I can't go home with you. Boss Zhu said calmly. Okay. Chen she didn't think much about it. Grandpa Zhu always had things to do. She was used to it. I'll go back first then. Don't forget to work hard. Boss Zhu reminded. Don't worry, Grandpa Zhu, I won't let you down. Chen she promised with a smile. Boss Zhu left the old goods market first, hiding behind a transport truck at the entrance. It wasn't long before Meng Yao, Yushu, and Grandma Sun came out of the market, and Boss Zhu followed right behind them. With Boss Zhu's Earth-class early phase strength, it was a piece of cake for him to hide from Meng Yao and the others. On the way, after passing the pharmacy, Meng Yao, Yushu, and Grandma Sun entered the pharmacy. They wanted to get the medicine for Lin. This is the prescription for the last treatment. I hope Shield Bro can wake up soon. Yushu sighed. 10 days had gone by without her even noticing, and it had been a bitter time. There was perspiration. There is happiness. Although it was unforgettable, they still hoped that Lin Yi could wake up as soon as possible. After taking the medicine, Meng Yao went from gritting her teeth at first to paying the bill without hesitation. The difference was like the difference between heaven and earth. Meng Yao couldn't help but sigh. If it weren't for Skybolt Pig, they'd be in a much more difficult situation. The three left the pharmacy. Boss Zhu's eyes flashed with a smile. It seemed like Lin Yi had really gone mad like the rumors said. Otherwise, why would Meng Yao buy medicine for him? Of course, for safety's sake, Boss Zhu only followed them and didn't go to their door directly. He wasn't an idiot after all. Why should he go alone when it came to the three houses? Besides, he was only in Earth-class early phase, and Lin Yi was also in Earth-class early phase. If Lin Yi faked it again, then he'd be dead meat. Boss Zhu knew that Lin Yi had the ability to fight higher levels. He wouldn't make a move before he had absolute confidence. It was better to leave Lin Yi to the stronger people. As long as he sent the information about Lin Yi's residence back to House Zhao, he'd be rewarded handsomely. Meng Yao, Yushu, and Grandma Sun didn't notice anything at all, and went home as usual. Boss Zhu, on the other hand, chuckled and disappeared into the dusk after confirming their location. Hidden House Zhao was far away in Donghai, but for an Earth class like Boss Zhu, it only took him an hour to get back to the Hidden House. Elder Zhu. Hidden House Zhao's disciple bowed and greeted Boss Zhu. Go tell Master Bing and the young head that I've brought back good news. Boss Zhu waved his hand slightly, signaling the disciple on duty to go. The disciple nodded respectfully and turned to leave. Not long after, Guanyin and Qibing came out to welcome them. Boss Zhu was only in Earth-class early phase, but he was still very important to Guanyin, especially since old Zhao was the head of House Zhao. Guanyin couldn't command an Earth class, but Zhao Qibing had taken Boss Zhu under his wing. This made Guanyin value Qibing even more. Boss Zhu, I heard you've brought back good news? Guanyin laughed and walked over. Yes, young head. Boss Zhu bowed. What good news? Quick, tell me. Zhao Qibing said quickly. Young head, Master Bing, after a thorough investigation and search, I've finally found Lin Yi, that brat's hiding place. Boss Zhu said and told them what he saw. Guanyin and Zhao Qibing weren't idiots. They knew that Boss Zhu had found Lin Yi's hiding place by sheer luck. It wasn't a thorough investigation and search, but they couldn't say that out loud right now. After all, Boss Zhu had done a good job, and Guanyin and Zhao Qibing would be proud of it. After all, Boss Zhu was one of their men. Good, very good. I'll go tell Elder Bai and Father right now. You've done a great job, Elder Zhu. Guanyin said happily. I'm just doing things for the young head and Master Bing. It's not a great job. Boss Zhu said quickly. Old Zhao and Elder Bai were overjoyed when they heard the news. They quickly told Guanyin to contact the masters of the Hidden House Yu and House Yu to gather at House Zhao. They'd go after Lin Yi together. This time, they couldn't let Lin Yi get away. Grandma Sun's in-laws' house. Lin Yi realized that the medicine Meng Yao gave him every day was quite effective in expelling the fire poison. With the medicine, Lin Yi's speed of expelling the poison was getting faster and faster. Now, he only needed a little bit of the poison on his left leg to expel. Chapter 1840. After Meng Yao gave the medicine to Lin Yi could clearly feel the last bit of fire poison in his feet being forced into the meridians of his right hand. At this moment, Lin Yi could clearly feel that his connection with the outside world had gotten tighter. He could wake up any time if he wanted to. Lin Yi was just about to return to the outside world from the jade space when Meng Yao said, "Shu, I'm going to take a shower. Help Lin Yi wipe his sweat." "Okay." Shu nodded. With that, Meng Yao started taking off her clothes. This made Lin Yi, who was about to wake up, slightly shocked. He didn't dare to wake up right away. Waking up at this time was awkward for everyone, including Big Missy and himself. Although he had seen Big Missy's body when he was detoxifying Big Missy's poison, that was under the premise that he was treating her. Now, it was inevitable that he would feel a little embarrassed. Plus, Lin Yi was actually a little dirty in his heart. Before, because of the fire poison, Lin Yi didn't dare to look at Shu and Meng Yao taking off their clothes. Otherwise, Lin Yi's deviation would be even worse. But after so many days, these two young girls taking off their clothes and showering beside him every day, it was inevitable that Lin Yi would fantasize. Although Lin Yi wasn't a pervert, under such temptation, if he didn't want to peek, then he'd really be a blockhead. So, even if Lin Yi had strong willpower, he still secretly used his perception to look at the miss. Take it off, take it off. Lin Yi felt like he was about to drool. Soon, the Miss upper body was only left with her bra. Lin Yi felt his breathing quickening. He thought to himself, Miss took it off herself for me to see. Pop-up window. I didn't peek. However, just as Missy was about to touch the button on her bra, a voice suddenly rang out. Suddenly, a loud noise came from outside the door. It was the sound of someone breaking open the courtyard door. Following that, a deep voice rang out, Junior Lin Yi, come out and accept your death. Meng Yao jumped in fright. He quickly put on the clothes he had taken off earlier and gave up on the idea of taking a bath. She and Shu looked at each other. Both of their expressions changed. They didn't expect this to happen. It still came. After hiding for so long, the enemy had finally found him. In actuality, Meng Yao and Shu had been worried about being discovered by their enemies ever since the three of them became famous. They'd always been hoping that they'd be lucky. There was no other way for the two girls. It was already very difficult to find such a lucrative job. What should we do? Shu's heart tightened. Without Lingshan and Yutian's help, they wouldn't be able to bring Lin Yi out of here. I don't know. Let's wait and see. Meng Yao was panicking as well, but if she acted more panicked than Shu, then Shu wouldn't notice. Lin Yi was pissed. Which bastard came to seek revenge at this time? The miss was about to take off her bra, but they came. This was the first time Lin Yi had the urge to curse. It wasn't easy for him to do something dirty, but it was interrupted. One could imagine how Lin Yi felt. Standing outside the courtyard were Yu Lu from the Hidden House Yu Shisan from the Hidden House Yu, and Zhao Guanger from the Hidden House Zhao. With 3 Earth-class masters locked onto them, they weren't worried that Meng Yao and Shu would escape. So, they didn't mind shouting outside the courtyard. Junior Lin Yi, come out and accept your death. Yu Lu said coldly, you got away last time, but it won't be so easy this time. Yu Shisan, on the other hand, stood at the side and didn't say anything. He came here because of House Yu and House Zhao. If Lin Yi was really here, then he wouldn't mind helping Lin Yi, but if Lin Yi wasn't here, then he didn't want to lose face. An Earth class shouting in front of a commoner's house and making a mistake would be the biggest joke in the world. But Yu Lu was different. He came with a mission. He had to kill Lin Yi and get the chi-gathering pill. So, he couldn't wait to speak up. Zhao Guanger, on the other hand, was even more anxious than Yu Lu. He was here to kill them, but Yu Lu beat him to it. Not far from the three, there was an SUV with Kong Ming, Zhao Qibing and Yu Huxing in it. The three didn't have much to do with each other, but after killing Lin Yi, they wanted to see Lin Yi's miserable state, so they came. But Yu Huxing, an Earth-class early phase, was hiding in the SUV with them, not going out to fight Lin Yi. This made Kong Ming and Zhao Qibing look down on him. Let's go out and see. Meng Yao was afraid that these people would hurt Grandma Sun, so she pulled Shu's hand and walked to the door quickly. These people were here for them and Lin Yi, and they couldn't let Grandma Sun, who took them in, get hurt. They're here. Where's Lin? Yu Lu saw Meng Yao and Yu Shu and was overjoyed. Why are you looking for him? We don't have any grudges with you, we've never even seen you before, why are you chasing after us? Meng Yao was panicking, trying to think of a way to stall for time, but she realized that there was nothing she could do even if she tried. Of course I have a grudge with him. He's the one who destroyed the common house Yu, right? I'm representing the hidden house Yu, and I'm here to make him pay, Yu Lu said in a dignified manner. Naturally, he couldn't say that Lin Yi took the chi-gathering pill. The common house Yu asked for it, what does it have to do with you? Meng Yao frowned. Besides, as far as I know, the hidden noble houses can't interfere with the common noble house's business, right? You're taking revenge for them, so where did that come from? Meng Yao had followed Lin Yi and Chen Tian, and she knew quite a lot about the rules of the noble houses. Yu Shu was from the common house Chen too, so she knew the rules even better. Enough with the bullshit, where's Lin? Yu Lu, naturally, didn't bother arguing with Meng Yao anymore, only humping coldly, hand over Lin Yi, I won't hurt you two girls, or I won't go easy on you. Lin Yi's in the hospital, he's not here. Meng Yao said, suddenly thinking of something. He's going crazy with his training, we sent him to the hospital? Sent to the hospital? Yu Lu paused. Don't listen to her, Lin Yi's here. Guang, who'd been silent all this time, spoke up. They even bought medicine for Lin Yi earlier, so let's not waste time with them. Let's kill these two girls first, and then we'll go find Lin. Target equals, Chapter 1841. Nothing happened. Zhao Guanger's goal was to silence them. He didn't mind killing a few more people. As long as it was someone close to Lin Yi, they might know the truth. Meng Yao and Yu Shu didn't know what was good for them, so he killed them as well. He wasn't from the hidden house Yu, and he didn't have those taboos. Woof woof. General Wei Wu saw the killing intent in Zhao Guanger's eyes and jumped in front of Meng Yao, ready to protect her and Shu. However, it wasn't strong enough. It was only a mystic late-phase peak. Although some offensive types of spirit beasts could fight against practitioners of higher levels, General Wei Wu was just an ancient spirit beast transformed from a normal dog. It naturally didn't have that kind of power. Mystic class spirit beast? Not bad, I want it. Yu Shi-san spoke up as well. He was from the hidden house Yu, and they had a close relationship with the heavenly elixir sect. He knew the importance of ancient spirit beasts in elixir making. If the flesh and blood of an ancient spirit beast were to be melted into elixirs, there would be a lot of unexpected effects. If this ancient spirit beast was lucky enough to form an essence pill, then it would be a top-grade elixir-making elixir. Therefore, when he saw General Wei Wu, he wanted to keep this dog for himself. Of course, Yu Lu and Zhao Guanger had their own goals for coming here. They didn't care about a dog, and if Yu Shi-san wanted it, then he'd give it to him. Their goals were more important. In the SUV, the others were fine, but Yu Huixing's face froze when he saw General Wei Wu. He was too familiar with this dog. In the tomb, it was this dog that chased away the spirit beast guarding the tomb. Furthermore, Yu Huixing was a meticulous person who was afraid of death. He remembered every single person or thing that could pose a threat to him. He wasn't like an ordinary person, who might not be able to recognize the difference between a dog and a dog, or who might have seen it before. After all, most animals were the same in the eyes of humans. Just like chickens, ducks, cows, and goats, they were the same in the eyes of humans. It was just that Yu Huixing was more careful. Of course, it was only when Yu Shi-san called out Mystic Class Spirit Beast that Yu Huixing remembered the Mystic Class dog beside the male thief in the tomb, but why was this dog here? Yu Huixing frowned. Male thief Lin Yi, could it be? A bold thought flashed through Yu Huixing's mind. Lin Yi was the male thief, and the male thief was Lin Yi? Just how similar was the male thief's body to Lin Yi's? Yu Huixing was very excited. He finally understood why Yu Bing admitted that Lin Yi had entered the tomb and had a chi-gathering pill with him when Yu Xiaochen asked him. At the time, Xiaochen had said that he'd ask Yu Bing in a vague manner, and perhaps because of that, Yu Bing misunderstood, thinking that Xiaochen already knew the truth, and that Xiaochen misunderstood even more, resulting in the current situation. At this thought, Yu Huixing really wanted to throw his head back and laugh. Even the heavens were helping him. Lin Yi really had a chi-amassing pill. He really was a star of prophecy. To think that his random words would actually hit the nail on the head. What are you laughing at? Qibing looked at the giggling Yu Huixing and asked, confused. No, nothing. Yu Huixing quickly retracted his smile. He couldn't let Qibing see through him. He said awkwardly, I'm just laughing. Lin Yi, that brat, is about to die. That's great. Yeah, that's great. Qibing thought that Yu Huixing was talking about the pill being kept a secret, and so he gave him a knowing look and nodded. Kong Ming, on the other hand, didn't know what was going on, but he knew that he was just a small House Kong. Although he had the support of House Yu, he wasn't on the same level as Yu Huixing and Zhao Qibing. He could only watch silently as Lin Yi fell. You take care of that dog, I'll take care of these two girls first. You go look for Lin Yi inside. Guang evidently wanted to kill everyone here, leaving no one alive. Yu Lu frowned slightly. He remembered what the head of the house told him to not harm the people around Lin. Yu Lu didn't know why, but he wanted to remind Zhao Guanga, but when he thought of the difference in strength between him and Zhao Guanga, he didn't stop him. After all, according to the division of strength, Zhao Guanga was undoubtedly the strongest. He had the strength of an Earth-class late phase. Yu Lu and Shirsan, on the other hand, were only Earth-class mid-phase. Are you looking for me? There's no need to look inside, I've come out myself. A flash of shock passed through Lin Yi's eyes. He didn't think that the three people in front of him were all Earth-class, and one of them was even a Earth-class late phase. This made Lin Yi, who had just recovered, feel his heart clench. Even if he compressed a pure chi bomb, he might not be able to deal with the three people in front of him. Besides, 3 pure chi bombs would take up a lot of time. Lin Yi had already lost to Shirsan last time, so Lin Yi naturally wouldn't make the same mistake. But Lin Yi could walk out calmly and face 3 masters at his doorstep. Lin Yi naturally wasn't an idiot. In Lin Yi's heart, there was an even crazier thought. Lin, you're fine? Zhao Guanga looked at Lin Yi, a little shocked. Zhao Guanga had heard from Zhao Qibing that Lin Yi was an expert in deceiving people. Every time he lost his strength, he would lure the enemy to his doorstep and kill them one by one, saving him a lot of trouble. Zhao Qibing even suspected that Lin Yi was too lazy to look for the enemy himself, so he used this method to lure the enemy to his doorstep and then kill them one by one, saving him a lot of trouble. Of course, at this moment, although Zhao Guanga was suspicious, he wasn't the slightest bit afraid. In his view, Lin Yi was just a master in the early phase of the Earth class. Even if he had a breakthrough, the peak of the early phase of the Earth class was the limit. No matter how powerful he would only be in the middle phase of the Earth class. On his side, there were 3 Earth class masters, 1 late phase and 2 mid phase. This combination was enough to kill any cultivator below the late phase of the Earth class with ease. Of course I'm fine. Lin Yi looked at the 3 people in front of him and smiled faintly. Lin Yi's answer, on the other hand, made Zhao Guanga and the others a little surprised. What did this mean? Of course he was fine? That meant that he was waiting here, waiting for them to find trouble with him? Don't listen to his bullshit. When I found him, he was unconscious. These 2 girls hid him here. If he was really fine, he would have returned to the villa long ago. Why would he still be here? Yu Lu directly exposed Lin Yi's lie. Chapter 1842. No one left Lin Yi sighed inwardly. It seemed like he had to take the risk after all. He wanted to trick these people into leaving with words, but he didn't expect these 3 to be that easy to fool. Not all Earth-class masters were as cowardly as Yu Huixing. Fu. Lin Yi activated the 2nd stage of the art of dragon mastery, and the strength of an early-stage Earth class was displayed in front of the 3 early-stage Earth class? Zhao Guanga was stunned for a moment, then he laughed out loud. Do you think you can beat any one of us with your meager strength? I think you'd better surrender and I'll give you a quick death. Wait. Yu Lu was afraid that Guanga would kill Lin Yi right away. Where would he get the chi-gathering pill? He quickly said, Lin Yi, hand over the thing you took from Yu Huixing in the tomb, and I'll let the 2 girls go. I only want the dog, Yu Shirsan said coldly. Are you 3 retarded? Lin Yi suddenly grinned and looked at the 3 Earth-class masters standing not too far away. Each of them was stronger than him, but Lin Yi looked at them with disdain. Yes, disdain. We haven't even decided who's better and you're already dividing the spoils? Is there even a need to divide? An early Earth class junior. Zhao Guang laughed arrogantly. One move. Lin Yi said faintly. What? Zhao Guang paused. He didn't quite understand what Lin Yi was saying. Guang didn't hear it clearly, but Qibing and the others heard Lin Yi's words through the listening devices on them. Qibing laughed. Is this Lin Yi an idiot? One move? Does he think everyone in front of him is a mystic? He's overestimating himself. Yeah, I think he's the one who's one move. Kong Ming added. He knew that Zhao Qibing was from the hidden house Zhao, so he tried his best to please him. After all, Donghai was the territory of the hidden Zhao family. Although the hidden Yu family was the Kong family's backer, it was too far away. If they could get the support of the hidden Zhao family, then the Kong family would be even more powerful. Only Yu Huixing's face twitched a couple of times as he felt a chill in his heart. When he remembered that Lin Yi was the male thief, he naturally felt a sense of fear in his heart. Lin Yi didn't say anything else. As he spoke, he slowly raised his right hand above his head, and the second level of the art of dragon mastery was abruptly pushed to its limit. What do you mean? You want to surrender? Yu Lu didn't understand what Lin Yi was doing, but no matter what, Lin Yi's strength was only at the early phase of the Earth class. This was why he was confident that Lin Yi wouldn't be able to do anything. There are two hands to surrender, why are you raising one? Lin Yi didn't bother with Guang and Yu Lu. His eyes flashed as he raised his right hand and pushed it towards the three. In an instant, a strong wave of heat rushed towards Guang, Yu Lu, and Yu Shisan. The strong red air current brought with it the power to destroy the world, crashing towards the three's heads. At this moment, a trace of fear flashed across Zhao Guang's eyes. He shouted, "Not good, run." Ha! Lin Yi let out a long laugh. It was too late for him to run now. Lin Yi didn't think that he'd actually succeeded. The second level of the art of dragon mastery wrapped around the fire poison chi and was released by Lin. Under the guidance of the second level of the art of dragon mastery, the fire poison chi followed Lin Yi's will and formed a red mist above the heads of the three Earth class masters. The mist was so wide that it completely covered their escape routes. By the time Zhao Guang realized that something was wrong, it was already too late for him to escape. He had been too confident before and didn't put Lin Yi in his eyes at all. He was caught off guard by Lin Yi's move. He wanted to retreat, but the moment his brain gave the command to his legs, the red mist seemed to have come alive, wrapping around his body. Guang screamed. This was the last sound he'd ever make in his life, and in the next moment his body turned into ashes. If Zhao Guang was like this, then Yu Lu and Yu Shisan were naturally not much better off. Before the two of them could even react, they were already enveloped by the fire poison chi and turned into wisps of green smoke, disappearing into the wind. This move was something that Lin Yi had thought of on the spur of the moment. He'd used it with the attitude that he'd succeed or die trying, because he had no other choice. Using his normal strength to fight two Earth-class masters and one Earth-class master in the late stage would only lead to death. Lin Yi wasn't that stupid. Using his chi to guide the fire poison chi to attack Guang, Yu Lu, and Yu Shisan was something that Lin Yi had learned from Rock Candy. Sky-class masters could control and release chi outside of their bodies and use it to transmit sound. Since chi could record sound, could it also record one's own will? Therefore, Lin Yi had set up an attack route for his chi in advance, letting it guide the fire poison chi to attack Guang, Yu Lu, and Yu Shisan. First, it would turn into a red mist, and then it would wrap around the three's bodies one by one, inflicting heavy damage on them. However, Lin Yi only wanted to inflict heavy damage on the three. As for the three of them being vaporized into ashes, Lin Yi hadn't expected that the fire poison chi would be so overbearing that it could turn three Earth-class masters into ashes in an instant. Seeing this strange phenomenon, Lin Yi felt a deep sense of lingering fear. He was so lucky that he didn't die from chi deviation. In fact, although Zhao Guang, Yu Lu, and Yu Shisan were all Earth-class experts, none of them cultivated a fire-based mental cultivation technique. If any of them cultivated a fire-based mental cultivation technique, they wouldn't have been burned to death so easily. Unfortunately, Xianxia was only an expert from the Yu family and not an alchemist. What made Lin Yi excited was that he could indeed control the route of the qi he released. In fact, Lin Yi could vaguely feel that although he had set the route of the qi, he could still maintain a certain connection with the qi outside of his body. It was a mysterious feeling, but the battle ended in an instant. Lin Yi didn't carefully think about it or feel it. Damn, where are these 3 people? Why are they all gone? Shield Bro showed his power again and vaporized them. Yushu said in surprise as she stared blankly at the red mist formed by the fire poison qi that was slowly dissipating. Not far in front, there was no one left. Chapter 1843. She forgot Miao had a vague idea of what was going on, but she was stunned by the scene in front of her. In an instant, 3 masters were burned to ashes by Lin Yi? Was this for real? In the car, Zhao Qibing, who had been bragging a moment ago, saw the 3 Earth class disappear in front of him. His voice stopped abruptly. Kong Ming Ming, on the other hand, was stunned as well. He couldn't believe the scene in front of him. 1 move? Really 1 move? 3 Earth class, gone just like that? Kong Ming Ming couldn't believe it. That Lin Yi who was beaten up by Xianxia and had his teeth all over his body, how did he become so strong all of a sudden? Run. Yu Huixing spat out 2 words with difficulty. He was so scared that he almost lost control of his bowels. Was this guy even human? He killed 3 Earth-class masters in 1 move, and one of them was an Earth-class late phase. Could it be that Lin Yi had broken through to Sky class and was pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger? Yu Huixing's words woke Zhao Qibing and Kong Ming Ming from their stupor. This car belonged to House Zhao, and the driver was Zhao Guang. Now that there was no driver, Zhao Qibing scrambled to the driver's seat and started the car. He stepped on the gas pedal and drove away from this terrifying place. Phew! Yu Huixing felt that Lin Yi didn't notice the car and didn't chase after them. He let out a long sigh of relief. He was lucky that he didn't go for revenge stupidly, otherwise he wouldn't even know how he died. Yu Huixing was an Earth class, but he couldn't tell what technique Lin Yi used. With a flip of his hand, he formed a red mist that covered the sky and turned people into ashes in an instant. It was too creepy and scary. Kuan nodded. Zhao Qibing and Kong Ming Ming were scared out of their wits as well. 3 Earth-class masters. In their eyes, they were invincible existences, but they couldn't even take 1 hit from Lin Yi. And now, Qibing finally believed Qikuan's words. Lin Yi, this guy, would make a bunch of enemies every once in a while, and when he wanted to cause trouble, it was too troublesome. So he'd pretend to be injured or lose his strength, waiting for his enemies to come knocking on his door, and then kill them one by one. Zhao Qibing shuddered at the thought. This was too sinister. This guy was addicted to pretending to be a pig to eat the tiger. Next time, I won't fall for it. Whoever goes again is a fool, a big fool. Kong Ming Ming cursed in his heart as well. If he'd known that Lin Yi was this strong, he wouldn't have asked Xianxia to cause trouble for Lin Yi. Now, he didn't know if the hidden house Yu would send any more masters over. Let's go back. Lin Yi won, but he still had lingering fears. Even if there was a small mistake, he wouldn't be able to kill them in 1 hit. Of course, this result was far beyond Lin Yi's expectations. Lin Yi didn't even think about burning all 3 of them to ashes. From Lin Yi's perspective, it was a waste to force the fire poison out of the body, so he might as well make use of it and use it like a qi bomb. Even if it wasn't as powerful as a qi bomb, it would still be enough to heavily injure them. As long as he did that, he'd have a chance to escape. But he didn't think that it would be so thorough, and the 3 of them disappeared. But what Lin Yi didn't know was that it was the fire poison from the 2nd stage of the art of dragon mastery. Even the ice spirit fruit couldn't completely suppress it, and normal people who went crazy didn't need to force the fire poison out of their bodies at all after eating the fruit. Shield Bro, where are they? Yushu blinked. They've turned to ashes. Lin Yi pointed at the fine particles on the ground that hadn't been blown away by the wind. Holy shit, Shield Bro, you're too amazing. You can even use a fire attack. Yushu exclaimed. Ta. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Only Lin Yi knew that this type of attack could only be used once. Could he go crazy again and force out so much fire poison? This time, it was a complete coincidence. Luckily, the 3 Earth-class masters stood together and let him hit them. Otherwise, even if Lin Yi was lucky enough to burn 2 of them, the third would be even harder to deal with. Grandma Sun looked at Lin Yi stunned. She rubbed her eyes and frowned. She seemed to remember something, but it wasn't clear. "Grandma, let's go back?" Meng Yao said as she looked around. It was evening and there was no one else in the alleyway. She let out a sigh of relief. Lin Yi's move had been completed in an instant, or else the 3 Earth-class masters wouldn't have been able to escape. Oh. Grandma Sun came back to her senses after hearing Meng Yao's call. She quickly followed Meng Yao back to the yard. Yushu quickly locked the door. She was thinking about how to explain what happened before to Grandma Sun, so that Grandma Sun would keep it a secret and wouldn't tell anyone. Looking at the unharmed Lin Yi in front of her, Meng Yao felt like she was dreaming. Is it over? Is everything over? Shield bro, you're really awake? That's great, I don't have to pick up trash anymore. Yushu looked at Lin Yi and screamed excitedly, you always wake up at the critical moment and kill everyone. You're so awesome. Haha, it's not the critical moment, I actually woke up a while ago. Lin Yi said with a smile, but something wasn't right. As expected, Meow's face darkened. Just now? I didn't see you take off your clothes. Lin said. Huh. Meow's face darkened even more. You took off half of it and the 3 guys at the door interrupted you, so you put them back on? Lin Yi had to think of a way to make up for it. Oh, I know, that's why Shield Bro was so angry and burned those 3 guys to death. Yushu nodded. That's right. Lin Yi nodded. Lin Yi. Meng Yao raised her fist at Lin Yi. I'm not done with you. Ugh. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He'd just woken up, and his mind wasn't working properly yet. Yushu's words had him spilling the truth out, and Lin Yi regretted it. Alright Yao Yao, you're Shield Bro's main wife anyway. With that, Yushu winked at Meng Yao before turning back to Lin Yi. Shield Bro, have you forgotten about the past? Let me remind you, Yao Yao is your main wife, and I'm your small wife. Question mark. Lin Yi looked at Yushu strangely. Chapter 1844. Chapter 1856, Invitation, we're your first and second wives, Yushu said with a serious face. I've forgotten what happened before? What did I forget? Shu, are you scared out of your wits? Lin Yi looked at Yushu, not sure what she was up to this time. But Yushu looked at Lin. He didn't look like he'd lost his memory, so she asked, then, who's your girlfriend? Girlfriend? Lin Yi blinked, a flash of confusion in his eyes. He wanted to say a name, but the name seemed to be right at the tip of his tongue. Could it be that he'd just woken up and his brain wasn't working yet? But after a moment's thought, Lin Yi thought of the name. It's Feng Xiaoxiao. Didn't she go to the Ice Palace to train? Why'd you ask that all of a sudden? However, he felt that something wasn't quite right after he said that, but he couldn't quite put his finger on what exactly was wrong. Feng Xiaoxiao. Shu couldn't help but realize that Lin Yi only forgot about Tang Yun, but he knew everything else besides Tang Yun. Yushu had wanted to lie about Meng Yao being his first wife, but it didn't seem like that was going to work. Meng Yao blinked at Yushu, telling her to stop meddling. It seemed like Lin Yi had really forgotten about Tang Yun. It's nothing, Shu's always been a little paranoid, you know that? Meng Yao glared at Lin Yi. He'd have woken up a long time ago if she wanted to deal with him in the future. Why didn't he say anything? Peeping Tom. But as she cursed in her heart, Meng Yao had a weird feeling. She was even blaming those 3 for being so nosy, showing up at this time. What would have happened if they hadn't shown up? Had Lin Yi seen her? Why would he do that? Did he like her? Meng Yao couldn't help but worry at the thought. Grandma Sun, thank you for taking care of me these days. Lin Yi turned around and respectfully thanked Grandma Sunday. Little miracle-working doctor, you're treating me like an outsider. My old illness has been cured by you for many years. I should be the one thanking you. Grandma Sun quickly waved her hand and said, as for taking me in, it's just a coincidence that I'm grateful. This is also God's arrangement. How do you know she is Grandma Sun? Have you been sober these days? Meng Yao wasn't stupid. She thought of something after listening to Lin Yi's words. Her face reddened as she glared at Lin. Of course not. I could only hear your voices before. I only woke up after Yao Yao gave me the medicine. Lin Yi quickly explained. As for using his perception to see the outside world, Lin Yi hid it. If he told the truth, the miss would probably be furious. Umph. The miss snorted. She didn't believe Lin Yi's words completely, but she didn't question it either. Grandma Sun, what happened before? Lin Yi looked at Grandma Sunday. He wanted to say something but stopped. After all, the things that happened before were too shocking and strange for a normal person like Grandma Sun. Lin Yi was afraid that Grandma Sun would spread the news. Just now, my eyes were playing tricks on me. I didn't see anything. Grandma Sun shook her head and said, "You guys are not normal people. I won't cause you any trouble." Lin Yi nodded, but he was still a little surprised at Grandma Sun's calmness. Those were 3 masters, and they disappeared just like that. However, he was afraid that Grandma Sun wouldn't understand the meaning of masters. Before school starts, we may still live here. Please forgive us for our intrusion. After school starts, we will move to Donghai. If you are interested, you can come with us to Donghai. At that time, the house will definitely be short of a housekeeper. Lin Yi felt that Grandma Sun was a kind person after observing her for a while. It should be a good thing to keep such a person by his side. When they go to Donghai, Faubert wouldn't be able to help with the housework like he was doing now. These things would eventually fall to Lin Yi, and Lin Yi couldn't guarantee that he would always be at home, so having a housekeeper was the best thing. Meng Yao was a little surprised. She didn't expect Lin Yi to invite her. But she immediately understood what Lin Yi meant. She snorted and said, "Lazy." You said it. We're good friends now. I'm not a follower, nanny, and bodyguard anymore. Lin Yi smiled. Okay, this is what you said. The living expenses of the family will fall on you. We don't have money to pay Grandma's salary anymore. Meng Yao couldn't help but laugh at herself. She was right. What right did she have to ask Lin Yi for? She was no longer the miss she used to be. You guys are too polite. If you don't mind me, I'll go with you. As for the salary, it doesn't matter. As long as you give me food to eat, it's fine. Grandma Sun said cheerfully. She had no children. She was alone. She could go anywhere. Besides, she could see that the 3 of them weren't bad people. She had always been grateful to Lin Yi for saving her. Okay, but I'll still pay you. Lin Yi was full of confidence when he said this. Although Lin Yi couldn't use the fire poison chi from before, this move alone was enough to scare off all the hidden houses that had ulterior motives towards him. At least in the short term, Lin Yi wouldn't have any more trouble. As long as Lin Yi had a chance to breathe, he would be able to take back everything that he had lost. The only thing that Lin Yi regretted was that other than the fire poison chi, the deviation didn't bring any benefits to Lin. Lin Yi didn't break through either. He was still at the early phase of Earth class. Hidden House Xiao. Zhao Qibing, Kong Mingming, and Yu Huixing sat in the meeting room. Their faces were full of fear. The 3 of them ran back like stray dogs. House Zhao was shocked, but they didn't dare to be careless. Zhao Qibing kept repeating the same thing. All dead? What happened? What happened? Why did you all run back? The old man of House Zhao didn't participate in the family meetings anymore. He usually let Elder Bai take care of things, but this time he sat in the main seat himself, with Elder Bai and Guangyin on his left and right. Yu Huixing was a coward, but he was still in early phase of Earth class. His mentality wasn't something Zhao Qibing and Kong Mingming could compare to. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1845. Once bitten, twice shy. Elder Zhao, earlier, that Lin Yi killed 3 Earth class masters with 1 move. Yu Huixing explained what he saw to Elder Zhao, but Yu Huixing was too far away and he couldn't see the details. He could only describe what happened according to his own understanding. What? 1 move? Elder Zhao's face was full of shock, as if there was something wrong with his ears. That Lin Yi, wasn't he possessed? How could he kill 3 Earth class masters with 1 move? Plus, Zhao Guanger is an Earth class late phase. How would I know? Yu Huixing smiled bitterly. Elder Zhao, that Lin Yi is an expert at pretending to be a pig to eat the tiger. It's not a secret anymore. He used to pretend to be injured to lure his enemies in for revenge, and every time, his enemies would return with heavy losses. According to my observations, Lin Yi must have learned some kind of powerful technique, or his strength has reached the peak of the Earth-class late phase. Elder Zhao's eyes widened, feeling like his brain wasn't enough to process all of this. He looked at Zhao Qibing and Kong Mingming. You guys were nearby? Yu Huixing, is what you said true? It was an extremely rude question, but Elder Zhao was a sky class now, so Yu Huixing didn't dare voice his dissatisfaction. Grandpa, I wasn't far from there. Mr. Yu Huixing's words are all true. It really was one move, and that Lin Yi killed 3 Earth-class masters. Qibing's eyes flashed with fear at this point. Evidently, the scene had left a deep impression on him. If you don't believe me, Grandpa, the car's camera recorded everything from afar. With Qibing's confirmation, Elder Zhao knew that there were no more delusions. Lin Yi really did kill 3 Earth-class masters. Grandpa Zhao's heart was bleeding. He didn't care about the others, but Zhao Guang was an Earth-class late-phase master, a pillar of the Zhao family. How could he die just like that? From Elder Zhao's perspective, other than Elder Bai and Zhao Guangyin, Zhao Guanger was one of the future sky-class masters of House Zhao, but now, if they had known that Lin Yi was this strong, why would they even bother messing with him? Grandpa, I've said it before, that Lin Yi's a wolf in sheep's clothing. But Qikuan was gloating inwardly. Lin Yi was fine, and he was showing off his prowess. House Zhao had lost a master, but it didn't matter. As long as he took control of House Zhao with Lin Yi's support, House Zhao would still be one of the top few hidden houses. Elder Zhao looked at Qikuan, a light flashing in his eyes. Qikuan felt a chill in his heart, but he still acted like he was in the right, not backing down. After a while, Elder Zhao nodded. Qikuan's right. Out of all of us, only Qikuan has fought with Lin Yi in the Ice Palace's test. He knows what Lin Yi is capable of. If we had listened to Qikuan, we wouldn't have suffered such heavy losses. Qikuan was a bit dejected. He had been hoping to use House Zhao's power for revenge, but now it seemed that Lin Yi was already the strongest under Sky Class. He killed 3 Earth-class masters with one move, one of which was an Earth-class late phase. Even an Earth-class late-phase peak wouldn't be able to do that, but Lin Yi had done it. If he wasn't the strongest under Sky Class, then what was he? It seemed that unless his grandpa did it himself, who else could touch Lin Yi? But, although the Hidden Noble House Association only existed in name and couldn't do anything to the Hidden Noble Houses, there were still the ancient sects above the Hidden Noble Houses. The ancient sects wouldn't allow Sky Class masters to interfere with the common world. This was the agreement between the ancient sects. Although the hidden noble houses weren't the ancient sects, if the ancient sects followed the agreement, then what were the hidden noble houses? It's fine, we'll learn from our mistakes. That Lin Yi likes to act weak, so let's not mess with him for now. Elder Zhao said that, but he had no other choice. If he could, he would have just killed Lin Yi, but that wasn't possible. Qibing, for this period of time, go back to the family and train. Don't interfere with Lin Yi's matter. Elder Bai agreed. If Lin Yi killed 3 Earth-class masters with one move, then even Elder Bai, an Earth-class late-phase peak, wouldn't dare say that he could kill Lin Yi. Yes. Qibing said helplessly. Yu Huixing, Kong Mingming, we, House Zhao, won't interfere with Lin Yi's business for now. Whether or not your houses continue to be enemies with Lin Yi, that's your business. Elder Zhao said decisively. All right, Elder Zhao, I'll be going back to report to the head as well. Yu Huixing smiled bitterly. He knew that there was no hope for revenge from Lin Yi now. He killed 3 Earth-class masters with one move. Shuixing's death wasn't in vain. I'll be leaving too. Elder Zhao, farewell. Kong Mingming was even more dejected. House Zhao wasn't going to interfere, and House Yu seemed to have given up as well. What right did House Kong have to go against Lin Yi? As House Zhao carefully studied Lin Yi had already brought Meng Yao and Yushu to Songshan's First People's Hospital. The worried Faubert stood up when he saw Lin Yi, excited as if he'd been injected with chicken blood. You're done? I'm done. Lin Yi nodded heavily and turned to Faubert. Thank you for worrying about me these days. Faubert paused. He understood immediately that Lin Yi was referring to Peng Zhan's bankruptcy, the fact that Faubert still stayed by Peng Zhan's side despite the risk of enemies. Lin Yi naturally was grateful for this. But Faubert didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Mr. Chu and I have been friends for more than 10 years. You're treating me like an outsider? That's true, Lin Yi nodded. He'd only known the miss for half a year, and in terms of time, Faubert was a lot longer than him. Lin Yi didn't say anything else. I'll go see Uncle Chu. But Faubert quickly stepped aside and invited Lin Yi into the ICU. How is it, Lin Yi? Can you save Dad? Meng Yao knew that Lin Yi had a 90% chance of doing something, but she was still worried about her father's safety. It's not a big problem. Lin Yi looked at Peng Zhan's condition. As long as he's still breathing, he'll be fine. Chapter 1846. Span class equals, edit underscore font underscore normal. Chapter 1858. Something is definitely wrong. Span class equals, edit underscore font underscore normal. After the eldest miss heard this, she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. However, she still laughed and said, "Is there anyone who speaks like that? Then why don't you hurry and save Daddy?" Span class equals, edit underscore font underscore normal. Yes. Lin Yi didn't think there was anything wrong with the miss tone of command. It was all thanks to her taking care of him all this time. Just based on this kindness alone, Lin Yi would do his best. Even if Peng Zhan was in big trouble, he would do his best. Span class equals, edit underscore font underscore normal. Sometimes, Lin even felt that he had a tendency to be the underdog. Or was it because he was used to eldest Mrs. Cold on the outside but warm on the inside? Or perhaps, he liked her a little? Lin Yi was shocked by this thought. Span class equals, edit underscore font underscore normal. However, this was not the time to think about these things. There were more important things to do. Span class equals, edit underscore font underscore normal. Lin Yi pulled out all the tubes and wires from Peng Zhan's body, Faubert sweating profusely. Meng Yao and Yu Shu, however, trusted Lin Yi without a shred of doubt. Faubert wondered if he was being too cautious because of his age. He had experienced Lin Yi's miraculousness a few times. Span class equals, edit underscore font underscore normal. Holding on to Peng Zhan's pulse, Lin Yi hesitated for a moment before activating the first stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery. Lin Yi had no idea if the second stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery could heal, or if there were any side effects. He was already very familiar with the first stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery, and Lin Yi decided not to do anything he wasn't confident in. Span class equals, edit underscore font underscore normal. The damaged parts of Peng Zhan's body were recovering rapidly under Lin Yi's universal qi, but Peng Zhan's injuries were too severe. It wasn't something that could be healed in a short amount of time. Lin Yi entered the jade space and used his old method of healing Peng Zhan's wounds without wasting his own qi. Span class equals, edit underscore font underscore normal. Meng Yao, Yu Shu and Faubert, on the other hand, didn't blink as they waited at the side, afraid that they'd disturb Lin. Span class equals, edit underscore font underscore normal. The night passed in the blink of an eye, and when the first glimmer of light appeared in the sky, Lin Yi let go of Peng Zhan's pulse and sighed faintly. All right, there's no more problem. Span class equals, edit underscore font underscore normal. Peng Zhan's injuries were a result of a car accident, and he didn't have any other symptoms. As long as he used his qi to heal them, there wouldn't be any other problems. Span class equals, edit underscore font underscore normal. Peng Zhan woke up as he spoke, looking at everyone in the room in a daze. Span class equals, edit underscore font. What happened to me? Peng Zhan didn't have any recollection of what happened before the car accident. Span class equals, edit underscore normal. Mr. Chu, are you all right? Faubert was overjoyed. Span class equals, edit underscore Daddy, it's finally over? Meng Yao was very emotional when she saw Peng Zhan wake up. Span class equals, edit underscore why am I in the hospital? Peng Zhan didn't know what was going on, and he was even more surprised when he saw that Lin Yi was fine. Didn't Lin Yi go berserk? How did he recover? Could he have recovered? Why was he in the hospital? Span class equals, edit underscore font underscore normal. Peng Zhan's words stunned everyone in the room. Span class equals, edit underscore Mr. Chu, lost your memory? Faubert asked subconsciously. It was the only explanation. Why else would Peng Zhan ask such a question? Span class equals edit normal memory loss? Why would I lose my memory? Peng Zhan asked, confused. Defensive equals edit Didn't you commit suicide and end up in the hospital? Faubert was confused. Span class equals edit normal. I committed suicide? Why would I commit suicide? Peng Zhan was even more confused. I'm alive and well, my body is healthy, my daughter is beautiful, and Li is such a good junior, and a friend like you, Li Fu. Why would I commit suicide? Span class equals edit but your company's bankrupt. Li Fu said. Had Peng Zhan really lost his memory? Did he even forget about the company's bankruptcy? Span class equals edit font normal. Even if I went bankrupt, I wouldn't commit suicide. Peng Zhan frowned. My father went bankrupt when he was young too. It's normal for people to experience ups and downs in life. Why would I commit suicide? Span class equals edit but Faubert wanted to ask something else, but Lin Yi interrupted him. Span class equals edit normal. Uncle Chu, you're saying? You didn't commit suicide? Lin Yi's sharp senses told him that something wasn't right. He hadn't asked Peng Zhan about the details of the company's bankruptcy, but according to his impression of Peng Zhan wasn't the kind of person who would let a company go bankrupt, and he definitely wasn't the kind of person who would commit suicide after going bankrupt. Span class equals edit font normal. Peng Zhan had been struggling against Guanghua, Jin Gubang, and the others back then, but now he was committing suicide? Span class equals edit normal. Of course not. Peng Zhan shook his head. Span class equals edit font normal. Faubert and Meng Yao looked at each other, surprised and doubtful. If Peng Zhan didn't commit suicide, then the car accident earlier, Span class equals edit font normal. Lin Yi shrugged and looked at Meng Yao and Faubert, asking them to explain, since Lin Yi didn't know the details. Span class equals edit font normal. Meng Yao took out her phone and played Jiang Wen's explanation to Peng Zhan. Faubert, on the other hand, took out the traffic accident certificate, stating that Peng Zhan was the one who walked into the car on his own. Span class equals edit font normal. Yao Yao's right, I did invest willingly. Peng Zhan nodded slowly, but after nodding, a trace of doubt flashed across his eyes. But why did I do that? There's no reason. Why would I do that? Span class equals edit Mr. Chu, I tried to talk you out of it, but maybe you were blinded by money, that's why? Faubert sighed. Span equals edit Lin Yi frowned. Something's wrong, something's wrong. Span class equals edit font normal. Something's wrong? Faubert and Meng Yao froze, and even Peng Zhan looked at Lin Yi in surprise. Span class equals edit font normal. This video must have been spliced, and some things were cut out. Lin Yi said, it's very detailed, but I have a friend who's a computer expert, and I've learned a thing or two from her. I can't do it, but I can tell. Span equals Jiang Wen's lying? Meng Yao paused, and anger flashed in her eyes. Span class equals edit font normal. I don't know if he's lying, but he's definitely hiding something. Lin said, plus, Uncle Chu's attitude is completely different from before. Even if he's mad, it doesn't make sense. Plus, Uncle Chu said he didn't commit suicide, so there must be something hidden. Span class equals edit font normal. That's right. Faubert listened to Lin Yi's analysis, and Peng Zhan's denial of suicide after waking up made him feel that something was wrong. Span class equals edit font normal. Jiang Wen? Leave it to me. Lin said, I'll go take the company back. Span class equals edit font normal, but we don't have proof. Faubert hesitated after listening to Lin. Span class equals edit font normal. Why do we need proof? Lin Yi shrugged and smiled. I just want the company back, not proof. Span class equals edit font normal. Target equals blank. Chapter 1847. Return of Property. Chapter 1859. Return of Property. Faubert paused and understood what Lin Yi meant. He looked at Lin Yi with respect and respect. Of course, if he had seen the scene just now, he would have been even more shocked. Only someone like that would be able to say such domineering words to kill 3 Earth-class mid-phase masters in one move. Lin Yi left in peace. The news had probably spread already, and anyone who dared to cause trouble for Peng Zhan and the Miss now was either an idiot or someone who wasn't afraid of death. Of course, Lin Yi didn't expect one move to make all the hidden houses stop. It wasn't realistic. When they realized that Lin Yi was only in Earth-class early phase, they'd show their fangs again. But at least for now, they didn't dare. Lin Yi only needed to buy them some time. As long as he continued to practice the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, Lin Yi was confident that his strength would increase to another level. Hausen, this was Jiang Wen's villa. However, and Mingyue, and Mingri, and Jianda, and Jiang Wen were all sitting in the living room. Something big had happened today, and as one of the 5 little houses, the members of the Firewolves, they were naturally the first to receive the news. Lin Yi didn't lose his mind, and instead showed off his prowess, killing 3 Earth-class masters in one move. One of them was even in Earth-class late phase. Hausen is in danger, and Mingri said as he looked at Jiang Wen. He was more active than anyone when they took over Peng Zhan's assets, but he was also the first to jump out when there was trouble. Jiang Wen, it's not that I want to criticize you, but making a move without understanding the situation will bring trouble to Hausen. If we're talking about trouble, Big Brother sending people to kill Peng Zhan, isn't that more troublesome? The assets are small, but lives are more important. Do you think Lin Yi will let this go after knowing about it? Jiang Wen looked at Jianda and smiled coldly. This is Hausen's problem and we'll shoulder it together. Lin Yi has no proof even if he refuses to admit it. But if someone leaks the news, then we'll all die together. And Jianda's body shook. He hadn't fought with Lin Yi before, but he'd heard that Lin Yi killed 3 Earth-class masters with one move. That wasn't something he could compare to. So, after hearing Jiang Wen's words, Jianda's eyes flashed with worry as he looked at his father. And Mingri sighed. He wanted to use this opportunity to attack Jiang Wen, but it seemed like everyone had a part in this. Plus, Jiang Wen was highly valued by the Firewolves, and even if they were to go against Lin Yi, with the Firewolves' protection, Jiang Wen would be fine. After all, the Firewolves had a sky class, and no matter what, they could still protect Jiang Wen's life. But it was different for the others. Jianda was the mastermind of the car accident. If Lin Yi knew the truth, he'd probably look for Jianda first. Okay, we'll all keep our mouths shut. Don't talk nonsense. Do what you're supposed to do. Don't let Lin Yi see through us. And Mingri said, Jiang Wen is right. As long as he doesn't have proof, he can't do anything to us. Who said that we can't do anything to you without evidence? A voice came from behind the crowd, startling everyone. Before, when they were discussing, they'd closed the doors and windows. How could there be another person in the living room without a sound? Plus, this voice was very familiar. And Jiang Wen knew who it was immediately. A trace of fear flashed across his face, but he smiled immediately. Isn't this Brother Lin Yi? Uncle Chu's car accident was caused by you? Lin Yi ignored Jiang Wen and walked towards Jianda with big steps. A trace of fear flashed across Jianda's eyes. He shook his head. No, it's not me. Everyone knows that he crashed the car himself. There's the car recorder and the witness to testify. He said it was you who did it. I heard it all. Lin Yi raised his chin and pointed at Jiang Wen's direction. Don't listen to him. No, it was him who ordered it. He's the mastermind. He planned to embezzle House Chu's assets. And Jianda was a coward. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been doing the organ trading business so honestly. Jiang Wen, on the other hand, directly kidnapped people to cut their kidneys. Oh, he can't run either. Lin Yi slapped Jianda's face. Do you know? I hate people like you who don't take responsibility the most. You did it. Why are you pushing it to others? Jianda's face swelled up instantly. He was just a normal person. How could he be a match for an Earth class like Lin Yi? If Lin Yi wanted to kill him, one move would be enough, but Lin Yi didn't. Instead, he was torturing him. Lin Yi would return all the pain Peng Zhan had suffered to Jianda. And so, before Jianda could say anything, Lin Yi kicked his crotch. Jianda's eyes bulged as he howled, his body curling up like a cooked lobster. Climax kick. This was the ultimate technique of Lin Yi's mistress. She tried it on Lin Yi's master before, but it didn't work. Lin Yi had learned it. However, this move was a bit more vicious. Lin Yi didn't usually use it, but against people like Jianda, Lin Yi only hoped to make him suffer a bit more. That way, he could make him pay for what he'd done to Pengzhan. What are you doing? And Mingri's eyes flashed with anger. But when he thought of Lin Yi's glorious battle record today, he didn't dare to do anything to Lin Yi. What do you mean? Trespassing? If you don't stop, I'm going to call the police. Oh, go ahead. I happened to record your conversation just now. Lin Yi said faintly, but his hands didn't stop for a second. He threw another heavy punch, knocking Jianda to the ground. And Mingri didn't expect Lin Yi to record. He was in a dilemma. Calling the police was just to scare Lin Yi, but the things Lin Yi had in his hands were disadvantageous to Haosen. If he called the police, Haosen would be in trouble. If you let him go, I'll return all of Pengzhan Industries' properties to you. And Mingyue sighed in her heart. The situation was hopeless. Haosen's efforts were in vain. It wasn't that Mingyue felt sorry for Jianda. The problem was that after Lin Yi dealt with Jianda, he'd definitely turn around and deal with other people. Instead of letting Lin Yi do it, why not take the initiative to express goodwill? We'll settle the properties later. Lin Yi's foot landed on Jianda's spine, making a crisp sound. Even if Jianda didn't die from this stomp, he'd be crippled. Ouch! Jianda cried in pain. Chapter 1848. Overbearing Lin Yi, you know the pain now? But it's still early. Lin Yi said calmly, Uncle Chu, your spine is broken, your internal organs are bleeding, and you have more than 20 broken bones. Your brain is severely injured, and there are many blood clots. I will help you create these injuries. Lin Yi, don't go overboard. And Mingri roared in grief and indignation. Is it too much? Why didn't he think it was too much when he asked someone to hit Uncle Chu? As Lin Yi spoke, he began to create injuries on Jianda's body. These injuries could only be caused by Lin Yi. Otherwise, even if Jianda was saved, he would be in a vegetative state. Zhang Wen's face twitched at the bloody scene in front of him. At first, he thought that he was ruthless enough, but now that he saw Lin Yi stepping on people expressionlessly, Zhang Wen realized that Lin Yi was the real demon. Of course, that was under the premise that he was provoked. Otherwise, the guy seemed harmless. All of Pengzhan's businesses, plus 1 billion. Zhang Wen stated his conditions. He knew that he wouldn't be able to escape from Lin Yi's grasp. If even 3 Earth-rank experts couldn't escape, then what did he have to do? And so, Zhang Wen gave him the condition to save his life. Is 1 billion a lot? Lin Yi turned to Zhang Wen, leaving the lifeless Jianda behind. I wasn't involved in the accident with Uncle Chu. I even gave Yao Yao 100,000 after the accident to help her with her medical expenses. Zhang Wen said. Add another 2 billion to the offer. All right, give it to me. Lin Yi nodded expressionlessly. And Mingyue sighed and went upstairs. All the documents were in the safe, but he didn't dare run. If he did, then Zhang Wen and Mingri and Jianda wouldn't be able to walk out of this room alive. Although Lin Yi looked very amiable on the outside, he had made Jianda look half human and half ghost just now. It was clear that the rumor of him killing 3 Earth-class experts with 1 move today was true. And Mingyue took out the authorization documents and the share certificate, signed them one by one and handed them to Lin. He then made a phone call and transferred 2 billion to Lin Yi's account. Zhang Wen was rich, but giving away 2 billion was a huge blow to Haosen. The money Pengzhan had borrowed from them was completely fictitious and didn't exist at all. As a result, Haosen didn't get anything out of this at all, instead losing 2 billion. We've given you everything, can you let us go now? Zhang Wen asked. The item was mine to begin with. Did I say I would let you go? Lin Yi asked calmly. Do. Zhang Wen's face reddened. He was furious at Lin Yi's words. Lin Yi wanted to say something, but he frowned. At this moment, Lin Yi felt a strong aura approaching the villa. Earth-class late-phase peak. It was an enemy, not a friend. Lin Yi didn't even need to think to know that a master of this level was probably up to no good. The next moment, a man in black appeared in the living room of Housen. He glanced at everyone present and didn't pay much attention to Xianxia, who was lying on the ground like a dead dog. His eyes stopped on Lin. "You are Lin Yi?" The man in black looked at Lin Yi and asked. "You are?" Lin Yi took a deep breath. He didn't expect to meet such a master here. "You don't need to know my name. You just need to know that I'm here on orders from the Fire Wolves gang to protect Jiangwen and his family. That's enough." The man in black didn't hide his strength at all. Earth-class late-phase peak was completely revealed. Ah! Lin Yi was shocked, but he smiled faintly. Lin Yi didn't use the art of dragon mastery. He didn't have any aura on him. Of course, Lin Yi did this on purpose. If he revealed his Earth-class early-phase strength now, the man would be even more fearless. "I know you're strong. You can kill 3 Earth-class masters in one move. One of them was even late-phase." The man in black looked at Lin Yi and smiled. He wasn't sure of Lin Yi's bottom line. "However, I don't think you've reached Sky Class yet. Your strength is at most the same as mine. It'll be hard for you to stop them in front of me." "Then what do you think?" Lin Yi asked calmly. Lin Yi knew that the reason why an Earth-class late-phase peak could speak to him in such a polite tone was because of the effect of him killing 3 Earth-class masters in one move. But if he showed any fear now, then what awaited him would be a storm of attacks. "You've heard of the Fire Wolves gang, right?" The man in black asked. "If you leave, then we'll be fine. If you insist on stopping Jiangwen, you might be able to win against me by a stroke of luck. But what awaits you is the Fire Wolves gang's revenge. Make him break his own legs and I'll leave." Lin Yi pointed at Jiangwen and said in an unquestionable tone. The man in black pondered and looked at Lin. To be honest, the news that the Fire Wolves gang received couldn't be fake. Lin Yi killed 3 Earth-class masters in one move. So, the man in black couldn't be sure if he was a match for Lin Yi. If Lin Yi's skills were really that strong, then even if the man managed to win 1 or 2 moves, he'd pay a heavy price. So, after some hesitation, the man in black didn't say anything. He waved his hand and Jiangwen groaned in pain, kneeling on the ground. With Lin Yi's eyesight, he could tell that the man in black only broke Jiangwen's leg. It was a small injury. But Lin Yi didn't dwell on it. Being able to make an Earth-class late-phase peak surrender was already a great achievement. Goodbye. Lin Yi cupped his fist and walked out of the villa. From the beginning to the end, Lin Yi didn't use qi. He walked out of the room like a normal person. Looking at Lin Yi's back, the man in black didn't stop him. His mission this time was to protect Jiangwen's life. He'd already done it. Naturally, he wouldn't cause any more trouble. He really couldn't see through Lin Yi's strength. There was no need to make him an enemy. The man in black didn't need to worry about Lin Yi and Jiangwen. Fu! Lin Yi's aura made an Mingyue and an Mingri sweat. When Lin Yi left, they fell to the ground. Send Jianda to the hospital? And Mingri suddenly remembered his son's safety and shouted.